Gang, gang, as it were. What's up, everyone? Let there be knowledge. Let there be light. We'll give a minute for everyone to join us. And then we will kick it off old school. We got 19 people in the building so far. Everyone, do me a favor, put it in the chat. Where on God's green earth are you tuning in from? Where are you in the world? Put it in the chat. Let me see who's here. And we are going to get the party started. I'm just going to give everyone a minute to join. Also, while you guys are joining, give this video a like, a thumbs up. I may do a special giveaway at the end of this video for Leah 2.0. Maybe. And in order to be entered into that, we need you to give this video a like. So stick around, and you have to be in attendance for the whole video. Put a comment. Where are you guys tuning in from? Give the video a like, and then we're going to get this party kicked off. I've got a really cool topic to go through today, which I think is going to be pretty fun. Something that I've never really seen anyone share. So it's going to be a good time. Right. We got Indianapolis, Detroit, Chattanooga, Clarksville, Phoenix. Nice. Miami, Florida. Nice. We got 2 Tennessee people in the chat. Luke and David. I don't know if you guys are close to each other, but you guys should connect if Clarksville isn't too far from Chattanooga. All right, guys. So what we're going to be going over here today, we're going to be talking about the KPIs behind really achieving any goal that you want to achieve in your land business. And I'm going to break down all of the numbers required to get there. Now, this isn't guesswork. This is actual data from my business and from the businesses of Leah 2.0 or Leah 1.0 members. And what's very important that I need to be clear with is that these numbers that we're going to go through, the KPIs, these are all based off of the Leah 2.0 land flipping system. So it's not so much like, hey, somebody's going to go through and show you need to send this much marketing and you'll make this much money. There's a whole system that comprises not just the marketing aspect, but the market selection and the data aggregation and the acquisitions. And, there's so many steps that go along the way. So we're going to talk about some input-based numbers, right? We'll talk about, hey, spend this much on marketing or send out this much marketing, make this much money. But you have to understand that it's not just as easy as clicking a button, hitting send, and then a bunch of money comes your way. I think as anyone here that's on this call can attest to the fact that there's a heck of a lot of skill of what we do. So because this is based on the Leah 2.0 model of land flipping, there's 2 strategies that we teach inside of Leah 2.0, cold calling and direct mail. And the reason that those are the 2 that we teach is because our core focus on Leah 2.0 is just serving the folks that are either brand new to land or have been in the business and haven't found consistency yet, no matter how long they've been playing this game. And what I found is for folks in those categories, cold calling or direct mail, baby, it's one of the 2 that is the best place to start. It's not texting, it's not RBMs, it's not cold email. It's one of those 2 channels. So the numbers that we're going to go through here today are based off of that. Speaking of Leah 2.0, I actually can't believe it, guys. We've had 126 people join in the last 2 weeks. Today marks our 2nd week of being live in the marketplace, in the world of ideas. And if you guys are inside of Leah 2.0, why don't you just share what your experience has been thus far? Put it in the chat if we've got any Leah 2.0 members on here. And I'll just quickly share my screen. So, and we're going to get into the meat and potatoes here after. But it's been an incredible experience for you guys that don't know. Leah 2.0 is our new land flipping model. It's our new approach to the land business. But it's also an entirely new community and coaching program and an entirely new business. Leah 1.0 was a 5-figure program. Leah 2.0 is a monthly subscription. Join when you want, leave when you want, no contracts, no funny business. And I still believe that we're providing a similar level of fulfillment that we did in Leah 1.0. Weekly coaching calls. I mean, I'm sending multiple Loom videos per day, speedy responses, amazing team of coaches. Like, I think the fulfillment is incredible. And I would argue that the strategy that we've built in Leah 2.0 is unlike anything that's ever been released in the space, in my opinion. The actual business in a box, the actual system. And that's why if you're inconsistent and you're not making money yet, and you want to make money in this business, you owe it to yourself to at least spend 30 days in this room. Just try it for 30 days. If you don't like it, leave. That's fine. But it is foolhardy to say, I'm not where I want to be, whether you're brand new or you've been in this business for some time and you're not hitting the goals that you want, and not try it for 30 days. It's a no-brainer, guys. It's a no-brainer. And the thing is, price stair steps up. We started at $299 a month. We've moved up to $337 a month. And as we hit tier goals, we're stair stepping up to $499 a month. So you get a pretty big discount by locking it in early, and you're grandfathered into that price. So as long as you keep your subscription, you're locked into that price. Okay. So I just had to get that out of the way. 126 people in 2 weeks, kind of insane. I'm not going to lie. It's kind of insane. And if you guys are inside of Leah 2.0, share it down below. Share your experience down below. I just dropped the link in the chat if you guys want to check it out, or you'll find it right here beneath me. Also, one last housekeeping thing before we get this party started. March 18th through the 23rd, Drew Haney and I are hosting an event here in Bali. I'm quite excited. My first time ever hosting an event in Bali. We've got an amazing lineup of people coming. It's 5 days all together. Adventure, exploring, deep masterminding, like actually unpacking every single attendee's business, going through your numbers, seeing where the constraints are, and giving you a game plan to get to your goals in 2026. And so I think that's just a level of coaching that's really hard to find, right? How can you spend 5 days with someone that's in the position that you want to be in, have them go through your numbers and reverse engineer what the constraint is? Because as I always say, and is what we're going to see here in this video today, the land business is just math. There's no mystery to it, okay? It's just math. It's math and some skills. You got to get the math right, and we got to get the skill to get the numbers in the right place, okay? All right, before we jump into it, please let me know just in the chat here real quick. Southern Flair with Roses and Maria. God, that's hard for me to read. It says, love the Leah 2.0 community. It's also much more streamlined, and I was in Leah 1.0. Well, thank you, Maria. I appreciate that. Before we get started, just do me a quick favor and tell me in the chat, what are you looking to take away from today's call? That way I can kind of help direct it, okay? Put it in the chat so I can see, what are you looking to take away? What's of most importance here? Because I could talk about, we can go into the KPIs and I could go super crazy mode. You want to make whatever, $4 million, or we could kind of channel it more to someone that's saying, hey, I just want to make my first $100,000 in this business, right? I want to leave my job. I want to make 100 grand. So I need to figure out where the group is at. So please put it in the chat, and then we're going to share our screen and jump into it. Now, this kind of dashboard / document that I built out will be shared with all Leah 2.0 members. And if you guys join Leah 2.0 today, I'll make sure that you get access as well. So guys, Leah 2.0, you guys will be getting access to this kind of dashboard that I created, which really just allows us to plug in, whatever number we want. Hey, I want to make X, Y, and Z. And then it'll spit out all the KPIs that we need to do to get there. Spencer says Leah 2.0 is, I think there's an emoji there that I can't see it. Mark, frame for starting blocks. I don't really know what that means necessarily, but I think you're just saying going from the beginning. Mains 200K. Spencer, looking to get a spreadsheet that protects my KPIs needed to my goal of 250K. I want to be able to upgrade from doing it for someone to doing it for myself. Okay, cool. Cool. I need to get one additional tab open real quick to make sure I can see the live stream chat. So just give me one sec, guys, and then I'll get this shared with y'all. Boom, boom, boom. And we are live. Okay. Cool. All right. I'm going to be watching the chat on the other screen here. Bang. Bang, bang, bang. All right, guys, let's jump into it. Maria's at 500K. I see 365K. What are assumptions we're running for make X amount? Yeah, we'll talk about the assumptions, Luke M. Bongo, as far as team structure and distributions, etc. Okay, cool. So as we're going through this, guys, I want you to put your questions in the chat because we're going to be moving fast and covering a lot of ground here. So please put your questions in the chat as we move through this. Spencer said, typo, Leah 2.0 is crystal clear and literally distilled goodness. Leah 1.0 had all of the right principles, but not as clearly laid out. Thank you, Spencer. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, Leah 2.0 is my absolute pride and joy. And if you guys don't know, my goal for 2026 is how can we serve 1,000 land investors in Leah 2.0. It's a big goal. But literally everywhere I look, every event I go to, all of these calls that I go to, people joining Leah, like everywhere I look, the average land investor is not doing well, right? And in fact, the cohort of people that are doing very, very well in this business, like millions and millions of dollars, it's very small. I think there's not that many of them. And I look at the difference between this group, and they're not really special one way or the other. They just maybe know a few different things and focus on a few different things and have a little more skill. And so it's my goal to help bridge that gap, right? I want to be the intermediary to take this camp over here that's not doing very well and pull them closer to this camp over here. And like, truth be told, not everyone is meant to run a big business, and that's just straight up. But anyone can run a land business that produces 500K a year, like literally anyone. That's not difficult at all. It just takes time and patience and the right playbook. Okay, cool. Let's jump into it. So let's start with the kind of classic assumption here. I'm going to share my screen. Let's start with the classic assumption, which is $250,000. Okay, that's like the magic spot that everyone wants to get to. How do I make $250,000, Sumner? And I think that $250,000 represents like the kind of freedom number for most people. And what's the freedom number? The freedom number is where you get to leave your job, have some level of location independence, as in you can kind of live anywhere. You've definitely got more time freedom than you'd have in a W-2. And you're living comfortably. You're not going crazy, but you're living comfortably. And the truth is, in this business, you can get there within 12 months. I mean, I would never make that as a flat out guarantee for every person, but inside of Leah, since launching in 2022, I mean, we probably had north of 100 plus people get to 250K in their first 12 months or less. So it's certainly possible, but let's imagine that you're more middle of the pack. Let's just say it takes you 2 years to get there. Okay. Like no biggie, And so anyways, those are the expectations that we're going to be going through here. We're going to start with $250,000. Now, let me break down this sheet for y'all. Okay. And again, if you're in Leah 2.0, everyone's going to be getting access to this, and you guys can play around with it as much as you want. Okay. Now, this is predominantly based off of my own data and then merging it with some Leah members' data. So we kind of have a little more of a meat in the middle sample, because I didn't want to give you just my numbers, right? It's probably not fair to assume that someone brand new is going to replicate the level of efficiency in my business. So let's go through what these are. Now, everything in blue here, we can change, and then it's going to spit out all of the KPIs that we need either for a cold calling business or a direct mail business. Now, the reason that we've separated the two is that if you're inside of Leah 2.0, you'll hear me talk about this all the time. All you need to do is master one marketing channel. One marketing channel can change your life. Okay. Do one marketing channel, get proficient at it. That's all you need. Now, eventually, if you want to grow into 7 figures or whatever the number is, sure, stacking on more marketing channels is wise. But in the beginning, I see people that either hop around from channel, right, and they never really kind of build a solid foundation or become skilled at that channel, or they're using a channel that's not really friendly to their setup, right? Their skill set, their lifestyle, their money. So it's not really bespoke to them. And again, all marketing channels work. We just got to figure out which one works best for us right now. Or my favorite is they'll become successful with a marketing channel, and then instead of doing more of that same marketing channel, they'll go add a different channel. Okay. And so we're just going to focus on compartmentalizing these, because if you wanted to get to $250,000 in Leah 2.0 as fast as humanly possible, we would do one or the other. Now, I'm going to break down the difference between the two, so you might be able to figure out which one's going to work best for you. Okay. Let's go through these expectations here. Okay. So we're going to update this to 250,000 bones. Okay. Time horizon, so obviously 12 months. Our average net profit per sold deal, we're estimating that at $20,000. Now, you can toggle that for sure. If you've got crazy bad cost of capital, or you have no way to fund, like, again, that number could flex a little bit. On the low end, I would anticipate like $15,000 as a low end net per deal, all the way up to, if you're super crazy, it could be 30,000, 35,000. So it kind of runs the gamut. Our signed to sold close rate is at 80%. What does that mean? That means we acquire a contract. We're not assuming that 100% of the contracts sell, right? Maybe title problems come up or the seller backs out or what have you. So let's just say if you acquire 10 deals, conservatively, we're going to say only 8 of them are going to translate to sold deals, or maybe they just didn't sell within that 12-month window. So it's just some of these numbers are pretty damn conservative. You could be higher than 80% for your signed to sold close rate. I've seen this as low as 60% of some people. And then for us in our business, it's more like 90+%. So it does run the gamut from operator to operator. The biggest delta here, like the differentiator, is that some people just like to get something under contract and then figure out the deal. It's not really my style. I like to figure out the deal and then send the contract. And so some people with a really low percentage here is because they're contracting it and they come to find out, I can't really sell this property or something's wrong with it. And then they move on. Okay. Contract sent to signed rate. This is at 20%. Okay. Someone said they can't read. I'll zoom in for you. Contract sent to signed rate. That's at 20%. Now, again, these are numbers that, like, when I first came into the business, I was like, please, God, someone tell me, what is the line in the sand of like success? Like, what should I be looking for? What KPIs are a signal that I'm working in the right direction? And no one had those answers for me. Okay. A good month in our land investing business looks like about a 25% conversion from signed contract from sent contract to signed contract. A bad month would be about 15%. Okay. 20% is absolutely doable by everyone on this call. No problem. Hot lead to contract sent rate. This is at 62%. That's an odd number because it's based off of our data. This number could certainly be a lot better. That just means, okay, we generate a hot lead. How many of them actually get a contract sent to them? In theory, every single one of them should get a contract sent to them. That should be 100%. But we're going to shoot very conservative here and just say that, you're not optimal in your business to achieve the numbers we're going to outline. But yes, in theory, every hot lead should get a contract. Otherwise, is it really a hot lead? Lead to hot lead ratio, okay, 19%. And then these are our assumptions for cold calling. And then we're going to go through our direct mail assumptions. Is everyone following so far? Is this making sense so far? If it is, please let me know in the chat because I'm happy to back up. I don't want to go too fast and lose you guys in the weeds, okay? Let me know in the chat, is this tracking? Are we making sense here? Good so far. Thank you, Luke. Who else? Everyone else feeling like, yes, this is checking out? Okay. Yes. All right, cool. So let's go through our cold call assumptions. And again, these numbers are conservative. Our cold call assumptions here are 300 dials per day per caller. Anyone that knows cold calling knows those are pretty damn conservative numbers. Now, the reason these numbers are conservative, though, because it's following our LEA 2.0 cold calling approach, which is very unique. So I will say, just all things considered, the volume from our cold calling style is going to be lower. Like, in theory, if you weren't following our approach, you could get 1,000 dials a day, no problem. With the way that we run cold calling, the way that we teach it, a max here would probably be like 500 to 600 dials per day. Probably not 1,000. We're doing very, very deep pre-qualification with sellers. So there's a whole song and dance that makes it so we can't make as many calls, but ultimately our cold calling metrics are insane as a byproduct. Our connect rate is at 30%. Kyle, we're not making any assumptions about the number of callers, right? Right now, this would just be for one caller. So this is just for one caller. And then, of course, if this is for one caller, then we can go and figure out how many callers you then need by dividing the number of leads or however you want to break it down, or the total number of dials, et cetera. So it'll make a little more sense here, but this is just assuming what one person could feasibly do. Our connect rate's at 30%. So we make a phone call, 30% of the people pick up. I thought that these were normal stats, but apparently these are good stats because the more cold calling businesses I've looked at, their stats aren't there. So I don't really know what the deal is. If you guys want access to the stack of tools that we use for cold calling, you'll find that in the discounted resources inside of LEA 2.0. You should be shooting about 30%. If you're like 10, 15, 20%, you got to get a new dialer, or you need to look at the reputation of your phone number and going and filing the necessary documents to make sure that your phone number isn't being blacklisted. Workdays per month, Monday through Friday, 22. Leads generated per caller per month. These are leads that make it into the CRM, 40. And then signed contract per month is 1. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Everyone tracking? Yep. Bada bing, bada boom. Cool. All right, let's talk about direct mail. Direct mail response rate. We're at 0.5%. That's just like legitimately raw responses. Send mail out, get raw responses. Now, for some of you guys, that might be low. For some of you guys, that might be high. I got to say that response rates don't matter as much as people actually think, but we have to put some numbers in here just to have something to work off of. A lot of people get hung up on response rates. Look, you could have a really successful land business with, 0.1% of a response rate. So it doesn't really matter that much. I wouldn't get too hung up on it. I'll show you what matters a little bit more here in a second, which is this qualified lead percentage. Yeah, Mark, good question. So everything here is exactly what we teach inside of LEA 2.0, right? So our cold calling framework is not just picking up the phone and making calls. It's following the LEA 2.0 model. And the same thing with direct mail. Direct mail is following our blind offer model. So these are 2-page blind offers, following the model on how we write copy, on how we design the letter, on how we pick our markets, and most importantly for direct mail, our 4 market fracturing techniques where we break those markets down into bite-sized chunks through our 4 different strategies to then send accurate blind offers. So 100% is what I said in the beginning. Once we start looking at the actual KPIs, don't fall victim to the idea of, oh, well, Sumner said 100,000 mailers equals X. It's the mechanism that matters more than just flat out volume. But this is assuming a 2-page blind offer. Inside of LEA, I see kind of the full gamut, right? I see people that are running direct mail and they have a 1% response rate. And then I see people that have direct mail campaigns where, again, they're at 0.1%. It doesn't really matter that much. Of course, we'd rather a higher offer percent, but it doesn't translate into what's most important, which is ROAS. How much money are we actually making dollars in, dollars out? Now, this is the next important metric for direct mail, is the percentage of responses that become hot leads or qualified leads or whatever you want to call it, like however you want to dub this. And this is actually a typo. This shouldn't be hot leads. And it gets a little confusing. There's a lot of different lead staging terminology that gets thrown around. And inside of LEA 2.0, sorry to keep on saying the same thing, we break down every single stage in specific detail in terms of what it actually means. But what I'll say here is I'm saying that 50% of the inquiries that we get actually translate to someone that's qualified enough to land in our CRM. Okay, that's what we're talking about here. So it shouldn't have said hot leads there. It's just qualified enough to make it into our CRM. The other 50% might be whack jobs. Hey, screw you, jump off a cliff, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and then mail to hot lead rate. Yeah, so you can understand that here. That shouldn't be hot lead. That should just be lead rate. Okay, cool. Let me zoom out real quick. Boom. Hold on, guys. Where are my tabs at? Whoops. Hold on, guys. Sorry, I'm trying to find the tab here. Here we go. Okay, found it. Sumner, are you separating your total record count and having each cold caller hit an entirely unique list from your other cold callers? I believe we divide the list, right? I believe that's how we do it. I mean, we tried a few different variations, and I gotta say, it's always funny. And I just actually made a post in LEA 2.0 about this. It's funny because on some levels, I think I've got some of the best, most accurate, honest, up-to-date land investing information. I believe that, and not in like an egotistical way, but just from what I've seen. But on the flip side, sometimes I feel like I've got the worst information. And the reason that I got the worst information is because our team has grown to the point where there are a lot of parts of the business that I am not a part of at all. So, Matt, I can't give you a firm answer. I mean, a lot of it I'm just not involved in the day-to-day, but I can go ask our team and relay it to you inside of LEA 2.0. But I believe that we're just, I don't know. I believe we're dividing our list, but I could be wrong. It's one of those things, though, that like I think a lot of people lose the forest for the trees, right? And what I mean by that is it doesn't matter that much, right? Whether they have their own list or you divide a list or separate markets, it doesn't matter that much. I wouldn't get too lost in it. Okay, cool. Let's jump into it. Do you guys put it in the chat? Do you want me to start with the cold calling math first, or do you want me to start with the direct mail math first? Which one do you want to see? Cold call, direct mail. Cold call, direct mail. Let me know in the chat, people. Okay, the people have spoken. Cold call, cold call, cold call, cold call, mail, cold call, cold call. Okay. And then someone said cold mail. Dude, that's genius, man. That is big brain maneuvers right there. Cold mail. Cold Facebook lead. Okay, guys, we're doing cold call and direct mail. That's all we teach, all right? All right, let's look at cold calling. Okay. Cool. Now, a couple things that I need to clarify here, okay? Actually, before we get into the numbers, there's a few important parts that I'd be remiss not to mention, okay? The first thing is not everyone should be cold calling. Yeah? Hold on. Sorry. Not everyone should be cold calling, and not everyone should be sending direct mail, okay? It's really important that you play to your skill set, whatever that may be. So let me just kind of talk about how I would think about deciding to start my business with cold call or mail. So Matt says cold door knock. That's our next program, yeah, the Leah door knocking program. So what do I mean by this? If I came into this business, okay, and I had no sales experience, I had no free time, and I have never hired someone, and I wanted to start with cold calling, I'd say you're insane, right? We're looking for an unfair advantage for whatever marketing channel that we start with. You do not have an unfair advantage here, right? That would be more of a direct mail business. But on the flip side, if you come into this business, you've got great sales experience, you've hired VAs before, you've hired someone, or at the very least, you've managed people, and you have a good amount of free time to work on the cold calling end of the operation, because it takes a lot more time than direct mail to build out and manage, I'd say, great, you should be cold calling. So please don't just look at these numbers and say, oh, one of the numbers is better than the other, so therefore I should do it. Play to your strength. I see Matt Pallardy on the call, I see him inside the chat. Matt, I won't reveal his secret sauce, but Matt started with texting, something I don't recommend, right? But he had a very weird gift. I would literally call it a gift in terms of being able to close people literally through text message. Like that was his thing. Like he could literally close a deal through text message. I don't know. Somehow he was charming people with emojis and fill in the blank. I don't think most people have that skill. Also, Matt had the constraint of being a father, right? He's got a whole brood of children. And so he's like, I can't really think about anything else. I'm just going to play to my strengths. Okay. So I want you guys to think like that. Play to your strengths. What's the thing that you can do that looks hard to other people, but it's actually really easy? And that's how cold calling was for me, right? I had always kind of poo-pooed cold calling. And then we built the team a little over 6 months ago, and it just clicked. I was like, I know how to do this. This is easy for me. Yeah, I see a lot of people that struggle with cold calling. So that's my diatribe. All right, let's get into it, okay? We want to make 250,000 bones with cold calling. We need 15.6 signed contracts in 12 months. Who here can get 15 contracts in 12 months? You guys think you could do that? Anyone? Put it in the chat. 15, that's not that crazy. Now, of course, we need to be going after the right markets, filtering and aggregating our data correctly. So like there's steps to that for sure, but 15 deals is not much. That's going to translate to a little over 12 deals that sell in our first 12 months. So 15 signed contracts, 80% sell through, 12 deals. again, when you break it down like that, you're like, dude, that's really not that crazy. The number of contracts that we need to send is 78. Okay. We need to send 78 contracts. So, stupid, silly, simple math. Let's just call that 7 contracts a month, right? That's not bad. That's a little under 2 contracts per week. And again, when you break it down like this and you have these bite-sized chunks every week, every month, every quarter, you demystify this business. There's not much mystery here. The total number of hot leads that you need to generate is 126. That looks like you need to add 643 leads to the CRM. Now, I believe it was Aaron that was talking about how many cold callers do we need? Like, how many cold callers is this based off, right? Aaron, if you remember what I said that you need, if you remember what I said 1 cold caller will bring in about 40 leads per month, right? So if we do 40 times 12, that brings us to 480. So we have a shortage of 643 leads. We have a shortage of 163 leads, right? So to get to these numbers, we've got 2 levers, okay? One is we need a cold caller that somehow is able to generate more leads, okay? My cold callers generate 40 per cold caller. Maybe you can figure out how to get them closer to like 55 or 60. Or you need a second cold caller. You might need someone that's part-time and 1 full-time, or maybe it's you got a full-time caller and then you fill in the gaps and you do some part-time calling. But this is probably looking like 1.5 to 2 callers to be safe to get there, okay? Everyone tracking so far, yeah? Yeah, cool. Remember, these are our expectations right here, okay? Those are our baseline KPIs for cold calling. To get to $250,000, we need 53 leads in our CRM per month. We need to essentially generate and work 2.44 leads per day, just 2 leads per day, right? The math jumps up to say that we need 2 full-time callers. It's probably more like 1.5 technically. Team dials per day, 600. Team connects per day, 180. Total dials per month, 13.2K, and then 158,000 dials per year. Okay. Now you're going to need a lot of data. And that's the thing people don't tell you. Okay. If you're going to get 13,000 dials, you really actually need about 26,000 exports per month. Why is that? That's because to cold call on the up and up, to do it on the most legit fashion and to play the game by the rules, you need to scrub out federal DNC, state DNC, and known litigator. Very conservatively, that's going to remove about 50% of your data, okay? So you do all of your scrubbing for the AI scrub and all that stuff, remove landlocks, blah, 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 blah. You get your 26,000 records. You go through those 3 scrubs, you're going to be left with about 13,000 to 15,000. So from the amount of data that you need to double this volume here. And that's conservative, okay? That's conservative. Matt says, I don't scrub the DNC because I love the thrill. Man, Godspeed to you, young Matt. That's funny, man. So yeah, and that's the thing with cold calling or texting. These are high volume channels. Okay, you do need a lot of data. You chew through data. So just as an FYI, it's something that you need to consider. And you need to make sure that you're getting good skip traces, and skip tracing is not cheap either. So of course, those costs must be considered. Now, if you were to have 1 solo cold caller, okay? Let's say Maddie says, yo, Sumner, I want to make 250K, although I know Matt makes more than that, but let's just say he wants to make 250K. But he says, dude, I can't afford to hire a second caller. Okay, well, somehow you need to get your 1 caller to 402 dials per day. And if you get them to 402 dials per day, we'll be able to achieve this math here, okay? Now, there's so much that goes into this that's not covered. Right. And that's why I'm saying don't fall victim to just thinking I need to pull this much data, make these many dials, and I'll make this money. Okay. What else goes into this? We got to pick the right markets. Now, luckily with cold calling, we're not pricing our markets on the front end. So there's no worry about market fracturing or anything like that. So we don't have to worry about that. We need to make sure that we are scrubbing our data thoroughly. So we're taking shots on goal. We're not wasting our team's time. One thing that I think does very well for us in our cold calling is we do run lead scoring. So we do use this seller IQ lead scoring, which I think is partially why our numbers are so efficient, right? So that is a part of it. Now you can figure out how to do your own lead scoring, or you can use seller IQ. And then of course our acquisition process, right? That can't be discounted. Your cold caller is not the closer. So in the beginning, it's probably going to be you. You need to make sure that you follow the acquisition process that we teach inside of Leah 2.0, and you need to make sure that you're decent on the phones. Okay? Don't be too weird on the phones. I always say, and I'm going to say it again, I always say you do not need to be a salesperson to do well in this business. You do not need to be a salesperson. You need to be personable. You need to be good at listening. You need to be good at asking questions. And then when it actually counts, you've got to be good at negotiating. Okay? You've got to be good at negotiating. Those are all the skills that you need. We cover it ad nauseum inside of Leah 2.0. I think it's actually one of the best sections in Leah 2.0 is our cold calling section and our acquisition section, because I think it's information that's hard to find out in the space right now. I think the only other person that's really teaching that stuff at a high level is our good friend Ajay Sharma. Other than that, though, that information is pretty sparse. Okay. Let me look at the questions real quick. Does a dial count as a record? Luke, I don't know what you mean by that. A record typically, I mean, a record can mean a lot of different things, but a record is usually implied as a data export, right? Yes, these are obviously the contacts that we're exporting, but you need to multiply these numbers by 2 in terms of the number of your exports, because if you're using skip tracing and you're running all of the proper DNC scrubs, known litigator scrubs, it's going to remove about 50% of your data. So multiply these dials by the number of, by 2 to figure out your data exports. And I'm not counting like double dials or anything like that. These would be unique contacts, right? So I think that's probably your question. Boom, boom, boom. What are full-time hours for callers? Same as full-time hours for any other employee, 8 hours a day, unless it's agreed upon outside of that. So 8 hours a day. Now, are they calling for the full 8 hours? No way. It's just not possible, right? There's just a lot of minutia that they get caught up in. So it's not like you can expect them to dial for 8 hours a day. Realistically, you probably get like 6 hours of dialing, and maybe it could even be a little bit less. So it's not full 8 hours of dialing. So you guys are sending every offer you make, or you're getting 70 verbals. I don't necessarily know. I might be misunderstanding that, but what we teach through this very weird model of cold calling that we run, this is kind of counterintuitive, but we actually create a bespoke range offer on that first call. So yes, every prospect that's being added into our CRM has seen a price. Now, please don't get that confused. That doesn't mean that they've agreed to a price. They've just seen a price, and they haven't told us, screw you. Okay, if that makes sense, we are going to go and move over to the direct mail side of things, okay? Maddie, your connect rate is insane, dude. Are you calling every skip trace number or just phone 1 and 2? Yeah, literally just phone 1 and 2. And Maddie, here's the funny thing, dude. So we've been cold calling for a little over 6 months now, okay? For 4 of those months, Matt, I was using the standard skip trace and land insights, the cheapest one, paying 2 cents and only getting 1 phone number. And I'll talk about here why we have a high connect rate in a second. And then when we released the DNC scrubs and the litigator scrubs, then I moved over to the premium skip trace, which is like 3 cents. But we don't call every number currently. I don't know. It's just, I would rather cast a bit of a wider net than call a trillion different phone numbers. So we're using very cheap skip tracing, to be honest. But the reason that we have a high connect rate, I think a lot of people, again, they lose the forest for the trees. They say, I'm going to spend 8 cents on the highest quality skip tracing, and I'm going to get a 95% hit rate. And okay, like maybe that's worth it to you. I don't think it's worth it. I would rather pay 2 cents, have a lower hit rate, but just save a ton of cost. I don't think it's worth 4x the benefit. But people will focus on the skip tracing, but they don't work on the reputation management of their phone number. Now, I'm not a freaking pro at that, but there's a lot that you need to do to register your phone number and then continue to manage the reputation of that phone number. I think a lot of people burn their phone numbers and then they wonder why they have a terrible connect rate. So it's less of a skip tracing problem, assuming you're using decent skip tracing. And it's more of a phone number reputation management, which I'm not an expert on. So just as a FYI. But I've been around the block enough times to see that be like the main differentiator for people. This is so helpful. Wow, thank you, homie. Our connect rate is a bit lower, so totally going to do what you're saying. Aaron says 10% connect question mark. Okay, let's go look at direct mail, y'all. Let's step over here. And guys, if you're getting value from this, if you guys are getting value from this, please do one of two things. Actually, do two things, okay? One, give this video a like, okay? Give this video a like. If you guys are getting value here, show it to me. It's free for you to do, and it goes a long way. The second thing is, if you guys are enjoying how we're thinking about the land business, and you're saying, yes, this is awesome, this is making sense, you might be saying, this is what's missing for me. Actually, I would argue, if you're not making $250,000 a year in your land business, you need to be inside of Leah 2.0. Try it for a month. If you don't like it, that's fine. I would be shocked if you didn't like it. But try it for a month. You owe it to yourself. The arbitrage is a no-brainer. Pay $337 and just go and get in there and test it. If you're not making $250,000, I just think it's you're looking at it the wrong way. Okay, that is the ultimate ROAS, in my opinion. That even beats the ROAS of any marketing channel I've seen. All right, y'all, let's go look at direct mail. So of course, these numbers are the same, okay? Because our expectations are the same. Now, one thing that I need to say is that these numbers are the same, okay? The expectations, the number of sold deals, and blah, 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 blah. But the big differentiator here between direct mail and cold calling is the difficulty on the acquisition side, okay? And that I can't really quantify in the numbers, but direct mail is substantially easier from an acquisition process than cold calling. Why? Because there's a lot more trust involved. And that's why I do like direct mail for people that aren't very comfortable on the phone yet, because these leads are easier. Full stop, 100%. The way I rank it in terms of easy to difficult, in terms of the actual negotiating and acquisitions and the sales cycle goes, direct mail is the easiest, cold calling is underneath it, and then texting is like way down here. Like texting is dramatically harder on the acquisition side. One of the many reasons that I think texting is a bad place for new investors to start, unless you're a sales savage, there's so little trust instilled, and you have to do so much to bring trust to the dynamic. And usually the sales cycles are a bit longer. And then on top of it, you need a giant team to run it and blah, 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 blah. So again, you won't see that in the numbers, but that is just the honest truth. These are going to be easier deals to close. All right. So here's our expectations. Same thing. Okay. We need to sell 12 and a half deals. We need to get 15 contracts signed. We need 126 hot leads, blah, 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 blah. Response rate. Again, we already went through all of that. Now, how much mail do we need to send to make $250,000? We need to send 50,000 mailers, okay? 50,000 mailers over 12 months. That looks like expected total responses, 252, 126 leads added to the CRM. Total direct mail cost, $30,000. Mail pieces per month, $4,200. Cost per month, $2,500, okay? The interesting thing is, depending on how you build your cold call team, cold calling with 2 callers is going to be similar to this amount. Okay, with like the 2 callers and the skip tracing and all that jazz and the extra data you have to pull, it's going to be a little cheaper than this, but not that much cheaper, to be totally honest. So yeah, now if you have 1 caller and they're very freaking skilled, then it will be dramatically cheaper than this. Okay, so just as an FYI. The cool thing that I like about direct mail from a cost perspective is it's flexible. Okay? It's a flexible cost. The thing is, if you find a great cold caller, but you go through a rough patch in your business, you're still floating that salary. You're still stuck with that salary. Where with mail, if you hit a rough patch and deals aren't selling yet or whatever, you can pull that send back, because you don't want to just let go of a great cold caller. You kind of have to keep them around, even if your business isn't performing yet, And so that's why I am a fan of the flexible cost of direct mail. Now, what I always tell people inside of Leo is that we need to break our days into themes, and then we need to have very clear weekly objectives. The average person inside of Leah is not full-time when they start their business. Okay? The average Leah member also has a job or another business. And so they don't have 40 hours plus a week to put into this. And so what I tell them is you need to break your days down into themes, and then we need to have a very clear weekly target. So let me explain. On Mondays, I would follow what we call Market Mondays. Okay. So on Mondays, you're pulling and selecting your markets. Tuesdays and Wednesdays, you're aggregating your data, aka exporting it and scrubbing it, and then pricing out your offers. And then Thursday, I'll do like one last kind of review. I'll do a quick logic check where I'll take like a dozen random samples from that spreadsheet. I'll go and test my pricing logic. And then we get it sent out on Friday, presumably. And every single Friday, you need to send 970 mailers. That's it. It's that simple. What people do is they don't have their days or their weeks designed, and they don't know what their targets are, and they're all over the place. They send 6,000 one month, nothing the next month. We don't want to do that. Okay. And so just break it down into really simple bite-sized chunks. When I was the most consistent with my direct mail, I had the best results. Now, naturally, I still fell short, right? There were weeks where I dropped the ball, but when you have that consistent rhythm just always going out, you never have big spikes in lead flow. You have a steady drip of lead flow, and then you know exactly how you need to structure your days. I don't recommend trying to do all of it on one day. Some people try to do that. Same day, pick a market, same day, export the data, same day price, and then get it mailed out. I find that's like too much for your brain to handle in one day. So break your days into themes. The reason that I love direct mail for beginners is you can do this work whenever, right? Nights, weekends, like whenever you have time. Cold calling, your team needs you. Like you're always on call for your team. And that can be a little bit tricky if you have another job or an obligation outside of it. When I first started, dude, I would come home from work. I would pick markets or price my mailers. I would work on it on the weekend. Hell, I would even work on it during my lunch break. And so this is very proactive work that you can kind of do whenever. What I also like about this is you typically will generate fewer leads. And so you just have less acquisition work going on. And then your sales cycle is typically shorter with direct mail leads. Now, with that being said, what model has the highest potential glass ceiling for efficiency? I think cold calling does. I think cold calling could be the most efficient marketing channel in terms of dollars in, dollars out. But there's a hell of a lot of skill required to do that. Cold calling without that skill, it could be the worst marketing channel. So it's really all over the place. You can be kind of meh at direct mail and still get good results, And frankly, the numbers that I've shared here, you can get way better results than this, way better results. We've got Leah members that send this much mail annually and make $400,000, $500,000, $600,000. So these are relatively conservative. But this is like a very, very, very good baseline of what you need to actually hit to get to 250K. Like it really is just that simple. Now, please don't watch this video and then just go say, all right, now I'm sending out 4,200 mailers per month. What you need to do, especially if you don't have education and you're doing it on your own, you need to let the market validate that you're doing it correctly. Okay. So before you watch this and you start blasting out mail, go send a little bit of mail out. Get proof of concept. Yes, I picked the market right. I priced it right. Get some proof of concept, get some leads coming in, make sure that you can follow the acquisition process and then grow from there. I only want to grow from positive feedback from my campaigns. Now, if you have a little more awareness, instead of letting the market be your teacher, go and actually learn from someone else and have them be the feedback loop, right? It's what we talk about inside of Leah is learn, implement, coach. You learn through the course modules, you implement the work that's outlined in those modules, and then you get that work reviewed by a coach opposed to the market, because the market can be a cruel teacher and it's a slow teacher. Now, that is the one thing I don't like about direct mail, just to be totally honest, from a coaching perspective. when people join Leah 2.0, naturally they want to get a deal, right? They're like, how can I get a deal as fast as possible? And direct mail is the slowest channel ever. Like maybe 90 days if you're lucky, and it could be longer than that. What I do like about cold calling, just from a coaching perspective, is that you can go and get deals so fast. Like you could go hire a cold call team. What the heck happened here? You could go hire a cold call team and go have leads coming in 2 days. You know, that's very encouraging. Now, one thing that I'll talk about as well, let's go back here. Let's go back to the cold calling side of things. Here we go. The one thing about cold calling is that you don't necessarily have to build your own cold call team. So there's 2 ways outside of hiring your own cold call team that we can skin this cat, okay? The first is that you just cold call yourself, right? If you have no money and no time, your only possibility is picking up the phone and calling people yourself. I don't see any other way. And dude, you could build this business with a small budget so long as you have time. If you have no money and no time, you need to figure out how to either get one of the two, okay? Don't start this business with no money and no time. Figure out how to get more time or figure out how to get more money. You need one of those at the very least. But if you're on your own and you have no money, but you got time, go get a triple line dialer, right? Use the ready mode setup that we use and start calling yourself and go put 4 hours a day on the phones and you will get deals, you know, and it's going to be a grind, but that's the only way you can start with a tiny budget, in my opinion. The cool thing about doing that too is that you're going to learn so much and therefore be better at hiring cold callers and managing them and training them because you have context or you have empathy over their role. And so that is a real benefit. Now, if you don't want to do that and you have a good amount of money, but no time, and for some reason you don't want to run direct mail and you want to run cold calling, I would use a cold call agency, okay? We partner with one inside of Leah that I used myself and paid for myself for 3 months. Now, to be honest, it's not as profitable as doing it yourself. That's the honest truth. But it is profitable for sure. So over 2 months, I think we spent over 3 months, I think we spent like I can't remember, 6,500 or 7,500, something like that. Okay. And we got over 150 leads and we got 2 deals, right? Those 2 deals will net us probably 65 grand. And then we've got 150 plus leads to still work through. So we'll probably get another deal or 2. So it's totally profitable, right? I would expect like a 7x ROAS to a 10x, maybe a 12x. It's not going to compete with doing it yourself, but it is a great option. The one thing about using a cold call agency, and we do have a pretty massive discount inside of Leah 2.0. I think it waives the startup fee or something like that. I think it's a pretty hardy discount. And this is with land callers. I haven't used any of the other ones. But the one thing to remember, though, if you're using a cold call agency, is they do run a different cold call model than what we teach. So you won't be getting price qualified leads, and you do get a lot more leads, okay? Because they make way more dials. They make so many dials, man. It's insane. So just expect that, right? You might get 50, 60, 70 leads a month. It is a lot more to work through, and there is more pre-qualification work that you'll have to do yourself. Guys, put questions in the chat. I'm happy to go through them. Coach says, insane value. Thank you, Coach. What do you attribute higher success for those good at mail? Ooh, okay. That's a good question, Abe. So what makes someone better at mail? Well, I think first off, to be good at mail, you have to be willing to zoom in and then zoom in again. What do I mean by that? Mail people have no problem finding a hot county and then spending another 4 hours breaking it down to find the best little pockets in there, right? Personally, that's not my style, okay? I'm like, find a hot county, let's get marketing out. Like I'm more like, wham, bam, let's go. The best people at mail, they actually enjoy that. Like they'll spend a Sunday just getting so deep and knowing everything about the markets that they work in. And therefore their pricing is better. Like everything is better. So you kind of have to enjoy the process, to be honest. Like I think that's a big part of it. If you ask a lot of those guys and girls that are good at mail, They're like, dude, I love nerding out on the markets and learning about these places. I think that is important. And so I think that's an element of it. I think that the other thing that I see with direct mail people is that they hate waste. They do not like marketing waste. For me, I'm kind of like, dude, let's just get leads in and I know we'll close them. For these folks, it's more like, I don't want to spend an extra dollar over what I have to. And that probably means that they're using the Land Insights AI scrubs and maybe even doing some manual hand scrubbing themselves. Like they're super, super methodical around not wasting anything. And therefore, we have people inside of Leah that send 3K mailers a month, 4K mailers a month, and make, $750,000 or $500,000, like insane returns. Like those kinds of folks are getting a 20x return on their direct mail. So you kind of have to enjoy like nerding out on it. Okay. Guys, I want you guys to put questions in the chat. I'm going to go through all of them. I'll be back in 30 seconds. I'm going to give you guys time to put some questions in the chat. Okay. All right. Questions in the chat, people. Let me get a little video here, huh? Get a little Instagram vid, as it were. I've been building out a new live streaming setup at my house. Hopefully the quality looks a little better for y'all. We're improving our studio here. All right, cool. Questions in the chat. And again, if you guys are enjoying this, if you guys have gotten value from it, dropping a like on the video would go a long way. Okay. Matt, so everyone is hearing a range in the cold call, but they don't necessarily agree to the range. Correct. Just open for the conversation. Yes. That's really all we're looking for, right? Is that people don't tell us no, because really almost no one accepts an offer off the rip. And what I always tell my team is that if someone does accept an offer immediately, that could be kind of a red flag. Like I actually think that's something that we should be saying, hey, why would this person instantly accept an offer? It's a little weird. Are you offering like 35 to 40% of the AI value on Land Insights initial call? No. So our team actually, once we have a prospect that's engaging with us, has the property pulled up on Land Insights and this inside the comping tool, and they do a quick proximity features recency spot check, like what we teach inside of Leah from a comping perspective, and then just like a really simple DD. So they do have to have the ability to do that. Now, again, we don't do it for every single person. It's not like we're on the call and we are like underwriting it beforehand. But if we have a prospect that's engaging, we just walk them through it in real time. I like the opportunity to shorten feedback loops of cold calling. Yeah, totally. And that is, again, all marketing channels have pros and cons, but that is one of the bummers about direct mail. Luke, once it's sent, it's gone. You know what I mean? You could test a cold call campaign, and if it's not working, tomorrow you can pivot it. But with direct mail, once that money's gone, it's gone. So there is that. And then, of course, it's just much faster to actually spin up results through cold calling. Can we re-watch this video later? Yeah, of course. It'll be on our YouTube channel. How often do you remail or do a drip campaign? I think we answered this inside of Leah 2.0, Mark, but it's for most people, and again, there's going to be edge cases and outliers, but for most people, they're going to be remailing on a 90-day cadence for a winning market, not for every single market, but for a market that's proven itself. typically it's a 90-day cadence. Michael, what do you recommend for a CRM? So I've actually got some really exciting news that hopefully I'll be able to reveal to you guys in the middle of this year, kind of talking in that domain. But as it stands right now, we use Follow Up Boss. So what I see most popular inside of Leah would be Follow Up Boss, Pebble. There's a good amount of people that use the CRM called Stride, which is just built on top of Go High Level. And then there's a good amount of people that use Go High Level. To be honest, Michael, I think a lot of people hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly. There's a lot of people that like to obsess over the best CRM. Dude, it doesn't really matter. My thing is whatever you're comfortable with using or your team's comfortable with using is the best one. But I personally like Follow Up Boss. I like the communication tools in there. They're really good. So like the phone system and the drip system and all that stuff, I think is better than any CRM that I've personally used. How would you best target subdivides with mail? I think you're talking about like actual going after deals for you to subdivide opposed to subdivisions. What I'll say first off is that if you haven't proven a successful rhythm with your flip model, I don't recommend trying to pursue subdivides. In fact, I would make the case that for most people, trying to deliberately market to subdivides is usually not what they actually need. It's possible, and we can talk about what you might do. But in my opinion, the way that we do it in our business, and I think that this is the best way, okay, I might be biased, but you are profitable via your flips, right? That allows you to scale marketing while still being profitable, which then exposes you to subdivide opportunities without having to deliberately target them, okay? If you generate enough leads and you're going after rural infill or rural recreational data, you will come across them. It's just a matter of when, not if. What I've seen in my own experience and for other people is that when they directly target subdivides, the sales cycle is so long and the marketing outlay to get them is so big that they usually can't weather those storms. It takes a long time and a lot of marketing to just deliberately pursue those deals, in my opinion. So our strategy is we go after rural rec, rural infill land, and we generate, 600 plus leads a month. Every month we're getting dozens of potential subdivide candidates. And right now we're acquiring about 1 to 2 subdivide deals per month. And you could kind of say that those deals are almost free for us to acquire because we're profitable just on the flips alone. So hopefully that makes sense. Hold on. Now, if you were to want to pursue these with just on their own, which again, I really wouldn't recommend, the first thing that I would actually tell you is don't start spending money on marketing yet. Literally just start scouring the MLS, okay? Just scour the MLS. And there are good subdivide deals on the MLS. And so start there, right? Set your alerts, check every single day, know your markets, and you certainly will find deals there. But that's a great place to start without having to outlay a ton of capital. Now, if you wanted to market to them yourself, it's pretty damn simple. Okay? You need to understand the county regulations in that market. So you want to know that on the front end, because that's going to help dictate what kind of properties you go after. And that's also going to give you a sense of what to offer because you understand what you could chop these things up as. So understand the county regulations. Also try to find markets that have a strong arbitrage between the parent lot and the child lot for whatever size you're subdividing into. Not all markets have that same arbitrage. Some markets it's a 1.5x difference, some it's a 5x difference, right? So you want to make sure that you're working in a market to where it is very profitable to create these child lots, whatever they may be. And then from there, it's just road frontage, right? Flood zones, wetlands, topography, all the usual scrubs. And for the road frontage scrub, you want to figure out, again, you kind of want to know your business plan on the front end. So let's say that I was going to go after creating 10-acre child lots in Texas, okay? And let's say I'm gonna pursue like 40 to 60 acre properties or whatever it may be. And let's say that to create a child lot of 10 acres in Texas, I'm just making this up, it may or may not be true. In that county, that property has to have at least 200 feet of road frontage as a minimum, okay, for the child lot. So then you use that to inform you what kind of road frontage requirements to put into place for your scrubbing. Because road frontage is the big dictator here for most properties. And then you also might want to scrub out like subdividing off of a highway. I personally don't like those deals. So you can dictate what kind of road frontage it actually has. And then just understand that these deals have a very long sales cycle and it does require a lot more marketing to get a signed contract. So that money's sitting out there for a while and it takes time to see a return from it. But honestly, dude, like start with the MLS. I know far too many people that find deals on there consistently for subdividing. For cold calling, do you recommend going a mile deep in one state, or is it not possible to pull that many records in a single state while staying in the Leah market? Okay. Yeah, I don't think there's much benefit to like going all in on one state, to be honest. I would kind of treat it much like how you treat market selection for any other marketing channel. So the only differentiator here, Kenyon, and this has nothing to do with cold calling, is that your market selection should be dictated, of course, by the stats that are inside of Land Insights, but it should also be dictated off of being vertically integrated. So what I mean by that is if I have a market that maybe doesn't have the best sell-through rate ever, it doesn't have the best statistics ever, but I've got a title company and a realtor there and a drone pilot, I would work in that market opposed to a different market that has better stats, but I don't have those resources there. That's just a general market selection principle, okay? Doesn't have anything to do with cold calling. So no, I wouldn't go super crazy all in one state. The nice thing about cold calling though, Kenyon, is that you no longer have to concern yourself with the market fracturing techniques that we teach inside of Leah, okay? So no longer do you have to get hung up on finding a hot market that also has homogeneous pricing because you're not pre-pricing offers on the front end, so that kind of goes out the window. From a cold call standpoint, does Lead 2.0 go into onboarding cadence and managing a team where most of the KPIs need to hit? Yeah, it's a good question, Luke. So, I mean, again, we have to remember that the people inside of Leah 2.0, these are not like full-on operators yet. So for us, it's about the right information at the right time. But we do go through all the things that you mentioned, okay? We go through where to find the people, how to train them, how to interview them. So all of that is covered in there. But if you're looking for a program that teaches you how to run a high performance team of 20 cold callers, like it's not the context that we cover because it's not the demographic. But what we do with cold calling is we give you a three-way fork in the road. Hire your own team, do it yourself, or use a cold call agency. And we kind of go through those paths and show you, hey, if you were to hire yourself, these are the channels you should look at. These are the countries you should look at. Here's how we interview. Here's how we run a pilot test. Here's how we pay them. Here's how we train them. Like all of that is covered. But again, I don't want to ever set the wrong expectations that this is like you're going to show you how to build a 20-person team or whatever. It's the same general principles. But what we look at inside of Leah 2.0 is these people are coming in. They're either new or they've been in the business, but they don't have any consistency. And at the end of 12 months, they're probably going to have one cold caller, two cold callers. You know what I mean? They're not going to have a giant army behind them. But yeah, long and short, yes, we cover that information. Yeah, your cold callers are doing a quick comp while the initial call. Yes. And so that is something that you need to think about and train on for sure. It's really not difficult, right? It's really like people overcomplicate this stuff. Are they doing a perfect underwriting? No. And it's the same thing that we do through texting. Okay, same exact thing. Right? Properties pulled up. We go through the Leah comping framework, proximity, features, recency, quickly look at the features of the property. That's it. We're not looking for perfection. But dude, I can underwrite a property with a high level of accuracy in like 45 seconds. They probably can't do that, but they could do it in 3 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever. And I think it creates a better conversation when they're actually looking at the property and talking to the prospect. And that's something that I recommend on the acquisition process as well, is if you're talking to a seller, make sure you always have the property pulled up. The conversation is different when you're looking at their property versus speaking about something or asking questions about something that you know nothing about. Okay, you are adding 600 leads to FUB monthly or just hot leads? Yeah, we are adding, last month we added 677 leads, I believe, to our CRM. Not hot leads. That translates to, over 100 plus hot leads a month. We aim for about a 20% conversion from lead to hot leads, pretty typical for us most months. But we're actually pulling our lead flow down. And again, this speaks to the skill aspect. We were pushing too many leads than what the skill of our team could handle. And that's why, again, if you guys just blindly follow this stuff and go out on your own and just say, oh, I'm just going to generate this many leads or send this much mail, then I'm going to make these numbers. No, you won't. Leads is definitely the top of the funnel, but all of our efficiency metrics, who asked that question? Aaron, all of our efficiency metrics actually were worse last month than they were in prior months. So it wasn't a linear growth, right? Because our efficiency metrics didn't stay the same. So we generated more leads, but did less deals. And the reason is all of our efficiency metrics dropped. Our speed to lead, our speed to offer, our speed to follow up, our speed, like everything fell apart. So we're actually pulling our lead flow back because it's too much. So the way our team is arranged currently, about 500 leads a month is the sweet spot for us. And that's why, again, more leads is not always better if your team doesn't have the skill to handle it. Efficiency is ultimately what we should be looking at. Okay. Inputs matter. You have to put inputs into the system, but efficiency around speed to lead, speed to first offer, speed to contract, like all of that stuff, I would argue is more important than just blasting marketing. And that's why I always chuckle, like when you go to land meetups or land events, everyone's kind of calling card for where they're at in their business is how much marketing they're sending, but it doesn't really tell you that much, man. It really doesn't tell you that much. So our number of deals, our gross profit, everything went down last month, even though leads jumped way up. And that wasn't a trend just from 1 month, Aaron. We've been seeing that trend as we've been increasing. We've been seeing it, all the efficiency metrics slowly get worse. Coach, can't wait to go back to this entire video with the boys at the land house. Nice. For cold calling, use the same small list that you use for mailers. No, different. I mean, you could, right? You could, but no. It's a different process. Now, if you have old small mail list, then for sure use them. I'm not saying you can't use them, but like I was talking about earlier, it's the same market selection techniques from a sell-through rate and a supply level, but it has nothing to do with the market fracturing techniques that we teach for direct mail. And because we're not doing the market fracturing techniques for cold calling, you end up with bigger data sets. Now, Francisco, if you've got old mailer data sets, for sure, skip trace them and call them, but it wouldn't be the same. Matt, when you say a killer AM can hit 100 dials per day, is that 100 leads or 100 actual dials? Meaning, do you connect a triple dial as 1 dial or 3 dials? I don't remember what I said about 100 dials per day. I don't really focus on the 100 dials per day. Our phone system does consider any dial made as a dial that counts. So yeah, it would count doubles and triples. I don't really get super hung up on that. I think 100 dials per day is totally fair. There's days that we do way more than that. What matters more is the talk time. Okay. So we're usually, I'd say, somewhere between 50 to 150 dials per day. I don't get super hung up on it. It's the talk time that matters. So you should be seeing 2 hours of talk time per day, and it could even be more than that. The max that you'd ever really see is probably about 3 hours of talk time per day. Is there a module in Leah 2.0 that goes into zooming into a market, then zooming further? I mean, yes and no. I think it's more, I don't want to get you confused. It's more a matter of speech. It's not really a technique. What I'm saying with that, Abe, is that they say no more than they say yes, right? And so they're going in so zoomed in, they're getting so tight, whether it be zip codes or subdivisions or very tight acreage ranges. And then if that's not perfect for them, put it to the side, go zoom in again. So there's not like an added extra technique that they're zooming in further than you. They're just spending more time objectively looking at these markets and denying them if they don't work. And they do that by looking at the full gamut, right? Like looking at the full spectrum. You see, for me, Abe, with mailing, I was like, wham, bam, super fast. Okay, it's good enough. 80-20 rule, get it sent out. They're just very methodical, I guess is what I mean to say. There's not really like an extra strategy there. They're zooming in to a very tight degree, but it's the same degree of tightness that we teach. I would say that these people do have a lot of subdivision mailers. So the people that I see that are most efficient with their direct mail, Abe, have more subdivision mailers in their data set. So that's an interesting thing to think about. And then Abe, one thing that I do see with the people that have like a 20%, like a 20x ROAS or even higher, Abe, all of those people also are manually scrubbing, okay? So they're using the Land Insights AI scrub, and then they'll have an additional manual scrub pass over that, whether that's themselves or a VA. So that is something worth noting. Like they do remove more properties. But again, there's not much technique to that necessarily. Aaron, they use the calling system here to dial through those lists daily. I have not been adding hot leads to FUB, like 60 to 70 leads a month. Aaron, I don't really know. I don't really understand what you're saying. So when I say I'm talking about, okay, we get 600 qualified leads into our CRM from whatever marketing channel. Then our team pre-qualifies them, and about 20% of those are actually what we call hot leads. But that all happens in the CRM. I might be misunderstanding something about that. Abe, do you always skip trace mail data? No. There's not really any reason to. So no. I have in the past skip trace mail data when I was using my own internal lead scoring, but I took everything I learned in that process and built it into Seller IQ. So no, there's not any reason unless you plan to call them. I think someone uses Zapier connection to connect with Ready Mode. Is that right? Yeah, leads just zap in. There's just a little zap trigger. All right, guys, what else we got? Come on, hit me with the good stuff. Was this helpful? Again, let me know if this was actually helpful. I hope it was. Fun hanging out with you guys, as always. Aaron, I'm asking for the 600 leads. You use the dialing system in FUB to call them. Yes. That is correct. We use the dialing system in FUB, and we haven't had any problems with it. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why you would. Might be worth looking into. But we've tested it ourselves where we call our own phone number, like your personal line. It doesn't come up as spam. So I don't know what would be called. What would be creating that? It would be worth reaching out to the FUB support because that's a huge issue. In my opinion. Honestly, I think that's one of the biggest benefits of Follow Up Boss, Aaron, is that the communication tools are really, really good, in my opinion. Very helpful. What do you see as a common traps for cold calling as a beginner? Yeah, Luke, the common trap is that they're not well suited for it, okay? That is the number one trap. The trap is they see the statistics that we're talking about here, and they say, oh, okay, I should go do that. Dude, if you suck at sales or you have no sales experience and you've never hired someone before and you're not willing to train your team weekly, have a team huddle with them, listen to their calls every single day, manage them. If you're not willing to do that, do not cold call. And that's the part I wish I could paint for you guys. I can show you the numbers, but you guys don't understand how much goes into making those numbers a reality. Where with direct mail, you literally just click, like you do your work and you click send. So if that's not you, if you're not ready to literally lead a team of people, even if it's one person, you still need to lead them as a CEO, and essentially you got to be a sales manager. And if you're not ready for the harsh reality, Luke, that you're going to have turnover, that you're going to hire someone and you're going to work with them for 2 months and then they're going to leave and then you're going to have to do that process again and that's going to happen again. Like if you're not ready for that, do not cold call. Don't let the numbers fool you. There is so much more work that goes into cold calling than what these numbers show. So much more work. You're just adding another layer of complexity because you have now you have a human. Now you got a human. They have life problems and they just, stuff comes up. It's infinitely more complex. The other thing is that, Luke, if you're not ready for the fact that your cold calling probably won't be very good for a couple months, and therefore you're going to have to continue to float their salary even when they're not producing results, be ready for that as well. Okay. No, it's not just consistency. Consistency is one of those things that's just a baseline requirement. Okay. You can't be successful without consistency, but is consistency the defining difference? Heck no. Dude, I think that like the greatest thing that you can do in life, at least from a professional sense, is play games that are rigged in your favor. Okay. Play games where you know the rules and you know how to win. Don't play games because someone else is playing that game. If you play someone else's game, you're always going to lose. So have this self-awareness to figure out what's your game. Okay. For example, I love making these videos. I could hang out here all day with you guys. I literally enjoy talking about this stuff. It feels easy to me. But maybe for some other people, this feels like a chore to them. So I really just try to play games that are rigged in my favor. And what that means in this context, Luke, and for everyone else, dude, all marketing channels work. Okay. Figure out which one is rigged in your favor and play that game. Matt says this was phenomenal. Thank you, Matt. That's the goal. It seems you've hit a phase of life where you're impacting lives has become greater than the money you make. Maybe I'm off. Would be curious to know what is your main focus for 2026 now that Leah 2.0 is out. Yeah, straight up, man. I mean, well, first off, thank you, Coach. I appreciate that. And I still have personal ambitions. But yeah, I honestly think you on some level you hit the nail on the head. My number one focus this year is Leah 2.0. Full stop, 100%. That is my number one focus. And for the people that are inside of Leah 2.0, for the 126 people that are in there, hopefully you feel that. I'm giving my everything to this community. Because, dude, in the middle of last year, I hit a bit of like a mental rough patch where it feels like it feels like all of this is worthless if I'm not doing it to help people. So I know what needs to be done to continue to grow our land business. And I know what needs to be done to grow Land Insights. But it feels like I'm just playing a selfish, stupid game that only benefits me if that's my main focus. I feel way more inspired to grow my land business and grow Land Insights when I know all of that loops back to working with people and educating people. To me, that's the thing that gives me endless motivation. So then I can, grow those businesses and help the teams over there. But this gives me energy, And so the old model of Leah 1.0 really limited the number of people that we could impact. And that's why, honestly, inside of Leah 2.0, just straight up as a business, it's far worse than our old model. Okay. We will make substantially less money. It's a fraction of the cost. But I think it opens us up to a whole new demographic, right? People that just couldn't commit to a big coaching program or literally didn't have the money or whatever. I want to take this mainstream, man. I don't see why I couldn't work with 1,000 people this year and then eventually 10,000 people and then 50,000 people, because I've seen what we've created work so freaking well for the 500 people that we worked with inside of the old version of Leah, that now I just want to scale that impact. I just want to go work with as many people as possible. Because when I meet up with a Leah member and we hang out and they say, dude, this has fucking changed my life, and I can't believe where I was at 1 year ago, 2 years ago, whatever, that makes my heart sing. And it doesn't make my heart sing like in an egotistical way. It just makes me feel like I'm doing something decent with my time on this earth. Like I always say the little one-liner, I'm certainly not Mother Teresa, but I don't want to go to bed at the end of the day and feel like I was only serving myself. That feels like a boring, miserable existence, in my opinion. And, maybe that all changes once I have kids, because I think that kids does change that. Now you're living for other people. But so much of my early adult life was, how do I get myself out of the rut? Okay. I was in a fucking rut. How do I get myself out of it? How do I make some money? How do I help my family? How do I develop some level of self-confidence? How do I become self-actualized? Everything was me, 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 me. And great. Okay. I did that, but I can't keep on playing that game. And so I genuinely only want to help. That's my number one focus. And I know if I do a good job here, everything else will take care of itself. I'll be a better operator in our land business. I'll be better inside of Land Insights. This is the top of the funnel. Like, this is like the most important thing in my opinion. And just on a quick side note, when I launched the old version of Leah, okay, September of 2022, I had no social media following. I had no presence. I was scared shitless to put myself out there. I was so, dude, you guys really don't understand how nervous I was. Like, doing this back then would be unthinkable. This would be like my worst nightmare, sitting and talking to a group of people. And I got over that hump, and then I started to find my rhythm, and I started to enjoy coaching. But my love for the land business just disappeared. I was like, okay, whatever. We'll keep the land business at the same level, and we were doing well, but I'm like, screw growing it. I'm just going to have it in the background, and I'm going to make Leah my main focus. But in January of last year, January 2025, I was looking at people in the group, and I said, the student has replaced the coach. Like, there's people that are doing better than me, and it's not a competition by any means, but I'm like, how can I be a great coach if I'm not pushing the limits of my land business? And so Leah re-inspired me to go back in last year and crank things up. And I don't think I would have had that motivation if it wasn't for this group. And so it's this beautiful feedback loop that just ties into everything, right? You know, we doubled our business last year. Like, that's pretty awesome for doing this for a long time. And it's just by doing all the things I talked about. There's really no mystery. And so this group inspires me on a lot of levels. Abe, disregard if off topic. I remember talking about Joe Dispenza in Arizona. Are you doing meditations for goal generation? Yeah, good question, Abe. Yes and no. Okay, so I did at the end of last year, I had like a, I don't know, 90-day period where I meditated every single day, but not Joe Dispenza meditation, just like the classic focus on your breath meditation. And I found that I like keeping that separate. And so from a visualization standpoint, what I do, Abe, is I do it through writing. I think visualization is a non-negotiable. Okay. Your internal world creates the external world. There's no way you can outrun that. That's just the God's honest truth. And I think the sooner you guys realize that you are inherently a creator, like you actually have that essence of God, the God that creates things, that's in you. You can create things. And it comes from your imagination, which I think is one of the most divine gifts that we all have. You can imagine things and create things. But far too many of us don't exercise that ability. So for me, Abe, it's through writing and visualizing simultaneously. And if you guys looked at my writing and my journal, you'd probably think I'm like a schizophrenic person, because I'm talking about things that are so different than my reality right now. Crazy ideas. And so that's a practice that I adhere to 5 to 7 days a week, pretty much every day. And then when I do breath work, usually at the end, I have a little visualization moment as well. But I've kind of compartmentalized meditation for separate purposes. So I don't necessarily follow the true Joe Dispenza meditations. How frequently do you or your sales manager meet with your AMs? How long is the meeting? What's a super high level overview of the meeting, like 60-second overview? So we've got a meeting every single day. So we have a team huddle every single day at the start of the morning. Then we have one sales training meeting per week, okay, where we all work on just acquisition sales training. That's going to be call reviews, offer reviews, role playing, or KPI reviews. That's predominantly how those calls go. And I let the acquisition team tell me where they need the most help. So sometimes like, dude, my numbers, I just can't get this conversion right. What's going on? We'll unpack that. Right? That's what we did yesterday on our sales training call. Some days it's role playing, super valuable. Some days it's call reviews. On top of that, we have a sales manager in our business that we just promoted. And so that sales manager starts by having a one-on-one meeting with every salesperson on our team to outline their goals for the year. Okay. So outline their goals, then show them the KPIs that are required. So we break down a game plan for them. And then they have a one-on-one call once per month to recap their progress towards those goals. How many calls is that? I don't know. It's a lot of calls. But once you have a sales team, AKA an acquisition team, especially as the founder in the beginning, dude, highest ROI, I would argue, is working with your sales team. Sales training, call reviews, all that stuff. We also have a separate sales call channel where we review multiple sales calls per week for our cold callers and AM. So we have a ton of support there. But even with the amount of support that we have, I think we could still do a better job with it. But yeah, I can't stress how important that is. In it for the long haul, appreciate that perspective. Hell yeah, Luke, awesome. Gary V says, find what you're the best at and triple down. Yeah, that's really the answer, right? And I'm guilty of this. We're all guilty of this. We find something that's working, and then we think that gives us permission to try something else. It should be the opposite. If you find something that's working, do nothing but that thing. And, everyone talks about this. Gary Vee talks about it. Alex Hormozi talks about it. And it's honestly true. And I fall victim to this. And I think that's one of the kind of miracles that happened in my life is I found this business at 24 years old. Okay. And prior to that, I had tried a lot of different businesses. Every year I was onto something different. And I don't know if my brain matured at 24 or whatever it may be. But when I did my first deal in this business, which my first deal landed January of 2020, and I got started 6 months prior to that in 2019 during the summer. So it took me 6 months to get my first deal. It's not fast by any means. But something clicked in my brain where I said, I'm just going to do nothing but this. Like once I saw the proof of concept, I was all in on the model. And we need to do that on every level, whether it's the model, whether it's the kind of land, whether it's the price point of the land, whether it's the markets, whether it's the marketing channel. Find the thing and do the thing. Just go crazy with it. Jacob just got off W2, will rewatch, but for someone who joined Leah recently and has 10 months left in Leah 1.0, would you recommend they join Leah 2.0 now or save for after? Yeah, it's a good question, Jacob. It depends on what you're looking to do. So Jacob, if you're going the mail route, I would save Leah 2.0, okay? I would just double up the time, right? So get the 10 months in Leah 1.0 and then get the 10 months inside of Leah 2.0 once you graduate. Like that's kind of a no-brainer. Now you just got 20 months of coaching. That's pretty fucking awesome. But Jacob, if you're saying, dude, I really want to go the cold call route, okay, then you might consider merging both of these together. But if you're going the mail route, no, I would stack them linearly. I think that would be the best bang for your buck. But if you're going cold calling, then yes, merge them now. Impact and influence over short-term gain. Love to see it. Thank you, Luke. Matt, if you haven't yet seen the Hormozi episode, Tony Robbins from recent, you'd love it. Yeah, I saw it on my Explore page. I haven't checked it out. I should watch it. The truth is, dude, to be totally honest, and maybe this is a bad thing, I don't know. I don't really watch any of that content, man. Like I don't really watch business content. I don't really watch self-help content. I don't read those books anymore. I think at a certain point, they're all just saying the things that you already know. And so I'm like, not to say that I know everything. By no means do I know everything, but I know all of the things that I need to be doing right now. So I just do those things. One thing that I do like YouTube for though, guys, is I like not using the Explore page. I mean, unless you're just trying to have fun, right? But I like going to YouTube and just looking at very tactical searches and then going and binging content on a very niche subject matter. And I've learned almost all of my valuable skills through that, Like if you're saying, hey, I think my direct mail campaigns could be better, go watch every piece of content on high level direct mail copywriting, right? Go watch the GOATs, go watch everything on it. Or if you're trying to think about, marketing graphic design, go watch, I like that where you just get one very niche topic and then go binge the information on that topic. I don't really like going broad and using the Explore page, etc. Okay, I'm with a different coaching, not happy at all as it's been a waste of 7K. Now I'm down on the dust to just texting. Do you recommend me join Leah 2.0? What would I learn there? I'm strictly texting. Okay, good question. First off, yeah, apologies, man. I hate to hear that you felt like it was a waste. Dude, this is the God's honest truth that you're probably not gonna like. If you're new, I don't think texting is right for you. Could you make it work? Yes. But for most newbies, it is the worst channel to start with. You need massive infrastructure to make it work, and you need a hell of a lot of time. Now, if you're dead set on it, okay, fine. But I would really encourage you to not go that route. I mean, you've probably been on this call, you've heard everything that we're talking about. I wouldn't go that route. Now, even if you still are texting, we do have people that do run texting inside of Leah 2.0. You know, marketing is just one element of this business. It's important, but it's one element. The areas that you're going to see the most improvements in, if you stay with texting, really simple. Your market selection, I can guarantee you're not picking markets like how we teach. That's a guarantee. Our acquisition process and how to develop acquisition skill on the phone, you don't really find that covered anywhere. And that's what allows us to make any marketing channel work. Like I could run PPC, Facebook ads, I could do on-market MLS deal, whatever. I know we can make any channel work because our acquisition process is so goddamn refined and we're good on the phones. But in the beginning, you as the operator, you've got to follow that process and get good on the phones. The other thing is your disposition process. And this is an area people sleep on, man. If you're inside of Leah, you hear me talk about this all the time. I think we've sold 4 or 5 properties this month. You know what I mean? Or sorry, not this month, 4 or 5 properties this week. My goodness, that was a verbal typo. Most people right now, interest rates are weird, economy's weird. The sales cycles are long on the disposition side. And so our disposition process doesn't allow us to sell every property like that, but our turn times are way faster. And what that allows us to do is we can compound our results faster. If you can sell a deal in 15 days opposed to 90 days, you get that capital, you redeploy it, you snowball, you snowball, you snowball, you snowball. So yeah, even if you come from wholesaling, man, I don't know how much of a leg up that gives you. It's not so much that you're going to lack the skill for texting, you lack the infrastructure for texting. So let me explain what you need for texting. You need an acquisition manager. Okay, that's 100%. You need an acquisition manager. If you're texting at high volume, like 100,000 texts per month, you're going to more than likely need a pre-qualifier appointment setter, someone to filter those leads because you get a lot of junk. You're going to need one texter. One texter could do about 100,000 texts per month if they're really good, if they're really freaking good. And then you probably need a data person because you chew through just an unbelievable quantity of data, of markets and skip tracing and formatting lists and all that jazz. So it takes an absolute village to text effectively. It's just like if you don't have that time or those people, in my opinion, it's just not worth it. But look at if you're dead set on making it work, you can make it work for sure. And is Leah 2.0 a texting program? No. But there's so much else that goes into making a lane business successful beyond the marketing channel that you use. My hope for everyone on this call is literally just try Leah 2.0. Just try it. I guarantee you it is the best bang for your buck from an information standpoint and from the fact that the level of fulfillment, I think, is bar none. And again, if you guys are inside of Leah 2.0 and if you can share your experience, it would go a long way. But we give everything in there. I don't gatekeep a damn thing. And what I teach is what I do. And that's the interesting thing is that I feel like the reason a lot of these coaching programs suck is because the folks teaching it don't even run the damn business. They're internet marketers that sell a course. And so it's just not the same thing, right? It's not the same thing in my opinion. So yeah, man, just try it, right? If you don't like it, you don't have to stick around, but just try it for a month. And I think that you'll be very, very, very pleased with it. So that's my recommendation there. Okay. So Maddie says Leah 2.0 is 100% worth it. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate that. Let's go through these questions. Matt, when you watch a large man wrestle a monster of a snake who has time for Tony. Yeah, that's true, Matt. So I go, it's so funny. I go through these seasons of obsession. I'm a very obsessive person. I just find these things that I'm obsessed with. And right now, my obsession are reticulated pythons, man. Go watch some videos on reticulated pythons. Holy crap. These things are insane, man. So I started looking into it. Dude, there's multiple documented cases of people being swallowed by reticulated pythons, swallowed by them. And most of those cases are actually in Indonesia. And there's a handful in the last couple of years. So what they do is they hang out in the rice fields. And if you're walking like at sunset time, and if there's a body of water by the rice field, they'll jump out, they bite your leg typically, and they've got these teeth that hook in reverse. So you can't get them off you once they're on. They go for your legs, they trip you, and they wrap around you. And every single time you exhale and you get a little smaller, they get tighter. And then you exhale, they get tighter, to the point where your blood vessels like explode. And then they swallow you whole. It's insane. But there's videos online of people wrestling these monsters. It's just incredible, man. So cool. Caleb says 100% just been in Leah 2.0 for a week, but Sumner is no holds barred. Helps with any and all questions you have, and the community is extremely helpful along with the direct coaching. Thank you, Caleb. Appreciate it, man. Coach, would you recommend I shut down my texting to go cold calling, knowing how my last year went, or am I overthinking this and just spend more time on phone, learn to dial comping time and time learning? Oh, Coach, I don't know, man. It really depends on where you're at with your texting, right? Like if you're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, like it's starting to produce, you're starting to see some positive indications from your texting, yes. But if you're in roughly the same position as to where you started a year ago, don't. I just leave it. Like I would just cut ties, right? Again, there's a reason we do not teach texting for new investors. It's just not the channel for new investors at all. But Coach, if you've been doing it for a year now, so if you're starting to get some traction, then yeah, keep on running it. Because if you switch marketing channels, expect a 3-month ramp up period to get comfortable with it. So like you're still going to have to eat shit for a while. So it just depends on where you're at. But with the amount that you are texting, dude, you should have done at least half a dozen deals in the last year at a bare minimum. And we could be well over a dozen. You know what I mean? So that's I think that the model is not correct for a new investor. But again, if you're starting to see traction, then just stick with it. All right, let's see what else we got here. Got a lot of energy from this live. Thank you, bro. I love to hear that, man. I don't have time to cold calls. My 9 to 5 is super busy. Okay. Yeah, I mean, in that case, right, in Leah 2.0, we show you how to build your own cold call team, or how to obviously cold call yourself. Sounds like that's not possible, or how to use a cold call agency. If you have time to have a texting team, you have time to run a cold call team, and your results will be better for a new investor. Because let me just give you an example. Still Phenom, I don't know what your name is, but Still Phenom. Our cold call close rate from contract sent to contract signed is 40%. Your close rate from contract sent to sign for texting will be about 10 to 15%. Just do that math. How many more leads you have to work through to get a signed deal? Texting is a volume game. You generate a ton of leads, but low quality. Last month, one cold caller brought in 35 leads and landed one deal that brought in $120,000. You just don't really see that very often with cold calling, or with texting. And if you were, you'd have to generate hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of leads. And that means Still Phenom, you're the one going through them and pre-qualifying them and running the acquisition process. It just doesn't make sense. For a newbie that doesn't have a lot of time, we want high quality leads with low volume, because a little bit of time that you have for the acquisition process should be going to the right leads. So yeah. Aaron, I've been binging on Claude Code stuff. Time to implement it to my business. Dope, man. Dope. I'm such a noob with all that stuff, to be honest. Questions, guys. What else you got for me? I'm an open book, man. Whatever you guys want, whatever topics y'all want to cover. How can I be of most help for y'all? Just let me know. Wherever y'all want to take it, I'm here for it. Bada bing, bada boom. You just let me know, all right? Just let me know. The other thing too, obviously, there's some new folks on here. We talked a good amount about Land Insights, and some of you guys might not know, but you can get Land Insights for free. So if you're new here and you're not using Land Insights, you can get it for free. I put it in the chat for you. landinsights.co/light, because I know there's some new faces on here. We've got a massive feature release coming to Land Insights this month. Massive. You guys are not ready for the features that we're releasing. It's an entire new platform within Land Insights. So, you know, some feature releases are like singular features. We built an entirely new platform, and there is nothing even remotely like it. There's nothing that's even 1% like what's coming out this month. And the best thing is it's 100% free to use if you're on Land Insights Pro. No additional cost. It's fucking insane. This one feature currently solves, I would argue, one of the biggest bottlenecks in our business. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Once you start doing deals, there is a massive bottleneck that you probably don't know about yet, but it will drive you insane, and it really hurts the speed at which we sell our deals and the margin that we get on our deals. This solves that. This feature itself, I would pay someone to do, like I have people on my team that do this thing that we pay over $1,000 a month. Now code will do this thing for us. That's all I can say. It's going to be insane. It's one of my favorite features that we've ever released. Francisco, the due diligence module teaches how to analyze the deals, like read them really good. Yes. I've never seen a program that covers the level of due diligence that we do inside of LEA 2.0. Everything about knowing, you know, soil types, when to get a perk test, how to handle different flood zones, wetlands, what they mean, like everything. And I think that was the biggest gap in LEA 1.0. I'll say this, the two biggest gaps in LEA 1.0 was the due diligence content, okay? And then our acquisition content was good, but it wasn't as good as it needed to be. Because I think the defining skill set for new investors in the beginning is, can you freaking close deals, man? I could give you warm leads, but if you stink on the phone or you can't follow an acquisition process, it doesn't mean anything. So those are the two areas that we've really, really bolstered that I'm very, very proud of. But beyond that, I think by like the crowning achievement of LEA 2.0 is that it's simple. Because what we teach is freaking complex. Like our model, I use a lot of weird words, and it's very, you know, there's just a lot to it. It's very mechanical. And my biggest fear is that I create things that are too complex, that can't be understood easily. And so I think what we've built is just packaged beautifully, but it's also very logical. And I've been doing this long enough to where I think I've finally gotten to the point where I can explain something complex in simple terms, which is something that I'm quite proud of. Yes, we cover everything about zoning and all of that jazz, what different zoning types mean, what to watch out for, what to buy, what not to buy, etc. Can you speak again to how you do market selection for cold calling? I have Land Insights, but I was fairly granular because of direct mail. Yeah, so when we think about market selection, Luke, there's two sides of the coin, okay? There's solving for a market that has demand. That's the first side. So demand looks like the appropriate levels of supply, sell-through rates, all of that. The second side of the coin, though, when we're doing direct mail, is we have to be able to create offers in that market. That means low Gini index, no more than 100% delta from the low to high price in the last year, post removal of outliers. And that means using market fracturing techniques, right? Techniques like countywide acreage ranges, zip codes, polygons, subdivisions, etc. All that second side of the coin is no longer relevant for cold calling, Luke. You're just solving for demand, then you're exporting that data. We use seller IQ, and then we run that through the DNC scrubs, and then we just start calling. So that means that the majority, like 90+% of all your markets are going to be counties, because we no longer need to fracture these down to figure out clean pricing. So hopefully that makes sense. That kind of micro market fracturing is no longer needed for cold calling, because you're not building front end offers. We're creating real-time offers just like you would with cold calling.
Start with texting. Sorry, prepping my toddler for his bedtime and trying to take in as much info as possible. Are you saying stop text and start cold calling? I'm working and hiring a VA. You recommend that? Yes, that's exactly what I would recommend. Still phenom. I mean, unless for some reason you're like, no, texting is working for me and I know what I'm doing. And again, I can't talk you off the ledge and like do what works for you if you feel like it's working. But if it's not working, then move to what we teach, what's proven to work, which is cold calling or direct mail. And so, yeah, I would say, hey, you're full-time W-2. If you left texting, which I would recommend, but I wouldn't say you have to, but I would recommend, then I would go through the Lead 2.0 content and build out the cold call team like we teach and hire your own cold caller. Follow the hiring process that we teach. You'll place a cold caller in your business for $750 to $1,000 a month. So that's going to be your hard cost every single month. You'll pay them 1 to 2% of gross profit on the deals that they bring in. One cold caller should generate about 40 leads per month following our strategy. And they should bring in about one signed contract per month. Now, let me be clear, still phenom and everyone else here, that doesn't mean that you don't have months that flex up and down. Okay, 1 month you'll get 2 contracts, next month no contracts. So please don't assume that lead flow and contracts are steady month to month. It is volatile. But at the end of the year, one cold caller should bring in about 500 leads and north of 12 deals. So yeah, that's exactly what I'd recommend. The other thing that's fascinating is that with cold calling, our average gross profit for our cold call deals is higher than any channel. It's higher than direct mail, definitely way higher than texting. So you're also landing bigger deals and you're just doing less deals, but bigger deals. Luke, hype for that feature. Got the annual Land Insights plan over the holidays. Amazing value. Heck yeah, man. Yeah, you're going to be stoked on what's coming this month. It's releasing at the end of this month. And then we have a massive overhaul that's coming middle of this year. So a massive overhaul to the comping tool. Massive. We're essentially rebuilding the comping tool. What we learned from interviewing our members, I did member interviews for Land Insights users in December. And what I learned is that the comping tool is the most used feature. Okay. Goes comping tool and then market selection. And there's some really, really easy ways for us to evolve the comping tool. So we've got some really exciting updates there. Some really exciting updates to due diligence inside of Land Insights coming at the middle of this year. And then we've got a fucking monster release at the end of this year. At the end of this year, we're shipping the biggest feature that we've ever created in the full history of Land Insights. Bigger than market selection, bigger than the data platform, bigger than the comping tool. The biggest thing that we've ever released is coming out Q4 of this year, which we've already started developing. So we already have a team working on it. And it's going to be insane. It's going to be insane. All I will say is for the feature coming out this month and the big feature release in Q4, you're going to want a Land Insights Pro plan. Because if you're on Pro, all of this stuff is included. So it's even more reason to go to Pro. And really our business model with Land Insights is to create so much value on Pro and not charge for these features. So then people on Lite and Starter go to Pro. That's the business model. I don't want to ship copious features that you have to pay for on Pro. Of course, if we have a hard cost for something like skip tracing, like, okay, there's going to be a cost there. But pretty much everything, like 99% of what is being released is free for Pro. And that's the business model. And I've always said that Land Insights Pro is like a Costco membership, except we give this stuff typically, try to give it for free. And so just more and more value is being added to where being on Pro just becomes an absolute no-brainer. So that means the folks on Pro, get ready. This is going to be our biggest year of feature releases, bar none, our biggest year of feature releases. Also, as some of you guys know, our co-founder and lead developer, Kyle Martin, some of you guys probably know him. He just had a second baby yesterday. So go wish him a congrats in Discord or school or next time you talk to him. He now has 2 children, 2 girls. He's a super girl dad. Okay. More questions. Do you use OYT to find your cold callers? Yes and no, Aaron. Yes, we have used OYT with great success for sure. And honestly, we're hiring for another role right now, Aaron, which is a appointment setter. And we were like, you know what? We'll do it ourselves. So we hired someone in December. They didn't work out. We had to let go of them. Now we have 2 people that we're starting next week to do a pilot test with. And I'm like, dude, I should have just used OYT in the beginning. We use it for probably about 50% of our hires, Aaron. And every time we do, I kick myself for not doing it. It's money well spent, in my opinion. And so on the cold calling side, we've done both. And I would recommend most folks go OYT. But Aaron, inside of Leah 2.0, we teach you how to do it yourself. If you don't want to use OYT, that's fine. But I found that we do get better quality candidates. We get less churn from the OYT candidates, but more than anything, we just save so much freaking time, dude. I would have had a good appointment setter in my business already had I just done that in December. So yeah. And for those in Leah 2.0, we have a discount for OYT. I think it saves you $200 or something like that. So yeah, OYT is a VA placement service. Outsource your tasks. Does Land Insights let you filter by only city water sewer availability? Not currently, but we are releasing due diligence features that are along those lines coming out the middle of this year. So that's kind of what I was talking about. Middle of this year, we are rebuilding the entire comp tool. Every part of it, the UI, the comp algorithm, everything's being rebuilt and improved. And then we're also releasing simultaneously new due diligence features, including things like what you're mentioning. Matt, I have no idea how I'd run my business without Land Insights, but I'm juiced for all of this new stuff. Thank you, man. Yeah, honestly, same for me. Our team, I should track how much time our team spends, but if you look at like the 17 people on our team, and they all use Land Insights. If you look at the time they spend, it's probably like 100 hours a day from our team gets spent on Land Insights. It's our everything. It's our control panel. It's literally our everything. I couldn't run the business without it. Questions, guys. What else can I help with? Anything else here, y'all? Anything else? There's been a lot of questions about Leah 2.0 on this call. So just as a reminder, I'll put it in the chat. If you guys want to join, try it for a month, see if you like it. Prices stair stepping up. We just moved up from $299 to $337, and in every user count goal, it stair steps up. Boom, boom, boom. I feel certain that you will join and probably stay for over a year. It's that good. But if you don't like it, leave after a month. If you're not doing numbers like this yet, what are you doing? You clearly need some help. Shortcut the time. And pay to play, baby. And it's a small price to play. Abe, I heard Nick's all acquisition videos in school. Can't find it without being the acquisition module. No, it'll be in the coaching call modules. I believe I got to check with the team. But the reason that that's not up yet is I don't think the recording has been given to Juan yet. So that recording, usually it's a 24-hour lag, Abe. So that recording needs to go to our team and then they upload it. And then we'll make an announcement for you guys once it's uploaded. VIP, do I have to pay to make a list with no skip trace if I have a membership? Yeah, no, of course. There still is an a la carte cost. So we do have an unlimited data plan that's $4,500 a year. That's unlimited data. But on any of the other plans, there's an a la carte cost because there's the cost for us for ownership data every time we pull. So on Land Insights Pro, it's 5 cents per export, or you can get unlimited data. So once you're past like 7,500 records a month, that's when unlimited starts to make sense, but you only get billed for clean records, right? So if you're using the AI scrubs, let's say you have 5,000 records, you run the scrubs, now you have 2,000 records. Of course, you're only getting billed for the clean 2,000 records. What else, y'all? What else we got here? Give me some hard hitting questions, guys. We got, I don't even know, what, 26 people on here? Something like that. Give me some hard hitting questions. What do we got for me? Hit me with the good stuff. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Appreciate all the guidance. I've got my marching orders. Heck yeah. Okay. Yeah. Mark says Nick Stolley is in there now in the coaching call. Sweet. I'm even going to go back and watch that myself, to be honest. Nick Stolley is a wizard on the acquisition side. He's incredible. He's really, really good. What else? Abe, thanks. Come on, guys. Give me some juicy ones. We got enough people on this call. I know someone's got a pressing, burning question, something that you need help with. I might be as helpful as possible. Matt, do you use setters that schedule the second call for your AMs, or do your AMs do both calls? Yeah, so that was the model that we tried for the last 2 months, and it failed miserably. So it didn't work. The setter closer dynamic, tried it for 2 months. It crushed our stats. So now our AMs are running the first and second call, and then they're only working the hot leads. Anyone that's not a hot lead is then moving to the appointment setter. Okay. What is the difference in data from you guys and other softwares like PropStream? Yeah, so I mean, there's a the differences are large. I'll talk about the data platform side of things. I mean, Land Insights, the data platform within Land Insights is just one part of it, right? It's not the it logged me out. The data platform is just one feature set within Land Insights. So I'll compare the data platform to PropStream because PropStream is just a data platform. So it's the only fair comparison. But of course, outside of just the data platform and Land Insights, you've got the market selection platform, you've got the comping tool, you've got the disposition platform, the realtor selection platform. Like there's substantially more within it. It's not just a data platform. So it's really an operating system for your business. But if we're comparing the data platform to a data platform like PropStream, these are the two biggest things that you're going to see. You're going to see the difference in data quality and the difference in data filtering. So we talk about this a lot inside of LEA 2.0. Almost every real estate data platform out there is not optimized for land. It's mostly house data. And so the land data has a ton of inaccuracies in it. And I used PropStream when I first got started about a year into this business. For whatever reason, I don't know if it's because they're mispopulating the data or they're not pulling the data from a high frequency from the county assessor or what, or the county recorder rather. But there was so much latency with that data or misinformation with that data where I would mail a 1 acre and they'd say, no, dude, this is a 20 acre. Or I would mail a property and they'd say, dude, I sold this 6 months ago. So the land data and most of these non-land specific platforms is not good. The only platforms in my experience that have good land data, obviously land specific tools like Land Insights or like Land Portal, that's a land specific tool. Data Tree has pretty good land data. Land Vision has good land data in terms of quality. But a lot of these other platforms just start to fall apart with the quality and the accuracy of that data. And one thing that's important is that data is being pulled from the county recorder in real time. I think a lot of these platforms have lag there. The next thing is data filtering, okay? Let me see if I can log into my Land Insights account here real quick. And we can go through this together. I cleared all my cookies, so my passwords aren't in here. Hold on. Give me 1 second. We'll go through this together. Let me share a different screen. Okay. Boom. Boom. Okay. So what do I mean by data filtering, right? And in the land business, most of the data is not data that we want to market to. Okay. So there's a lot of potential for just absolute waste in our marketing. And you look at a lot of data platforms out there, they don't offer a high level of data filtering. So most data platforms will let you search by county, maybe zip code, but even that can be limited. You can see here, and this is just for the parcel search. Obviously, you can search by county. Then we can get a breakdown of every single subdivision in that market. I haven't found another data platform that has this. The reason that's relevant is that's part of our data fracturing technique. We don't want to go into a market and spray and pray. Marketing, especially for direct mail, is a game of being a sniper. And so we need a way to fracture these markets into bite-sized chunks. So even something as simple like as this goes a long way, or sorting by in city limits, out of city limits. Like this stuff seems relatively remedial, but most platforms out there, because they're not optimized for land, don't really find this relevant, and it's not super friendly. Same thing with zoning type, land use, etc. And then we move into the actual physical scrubbing side of things. So about 50% of the properties in any given market physically don't have attributes that you want to buy. Okay, they're landlocked, they've got bad topography, they're in terrible HOAs, they've got bad flood zone, bad wetlands, they've limited road frontage, you fill in the blank. And so the ability to use AI to remove that 50% of our data instantly doubles your marketing return just like that. There's like hardly any, there's like really no platforms out there that I know of other than one that has this. And Land Insights actually invented AI scrubbing. And so every tool out there that's added AI scrubbing is just a copycat on what we've created. And there is a first mover advantage. Our AI scrubs are substantially better than what exists out there. We hear all the time from people that moved over from other tools that their AI scrubs were pulling properties with road frontage on a bike path or road frontage on a railroad track, like just whatever, just sloppy AI scrubbing. But you won't find this in a prop stream or something of that sort. This, again, this is double your marketing return just by doing that. Okay. Going down here, this is what I call ownership scrubbing, right? And these are the actual ownership filters that matter for landowners. You don't typically find inter-family transfers or things of that sort in these data platforms because it's maybe not super relevant. Maybe some have it, maybe some don't. I don't know. When we go and look at the land data, these are some of our most profitable deals. And so all of these ownership filters are built around what creates a motivated owner for people that own land. This is something really exciting that we just built. It's called Seller IQ. So I spent 6 months building this. I literally came up with the formula myself from my own data. And this tracks 100+ data points that create a motivated landowner, not a motivated seller, because a motivated seller is different for other asset classes. You see, in land, unlike houses and other niches, it's not so much about having a high level of distress. So VIP, if you're using PropStream or you come from the house world, you'll probably be very familiar with the tax delinquency stuff. And that works, but it's actually not super duper important here because we don't deal with people that are super distressed. We deal with people that are disinterested in their land and they're looking to trade speed and convenience for maximizing retail value. So we use this for all of our data. This is insane. This will remove about 30% of your data as well. Everything in land is about whittling down our list, niching it down. One of the other things that we run as well are called keyword exclusions. So keyword exclusions allow us to remove ownership tags that don't sell. Starbucks, BLM land, city-owned land, utility-owned land, all that stuff. So we remove that. My full keyword exclusion list is inside of Leah 2.0. I mean, it really just goes on and on and on and on again. I mean, you kind of get the sense. Everything in here is optimized for being a land investor. Also, all of your data, when you export it, gets our AI market value estimate. So our AI system goes and figures out what we think that property is worth, and you get that within your data set. That's free, obviously, when you export. But this is all just one tiny sliver of Land Insights. The data platform is a drop in the bucket compared to what the platform actually entails, like all around. We'll move over to the NAIP. So these are different map layers that we use. I usually use the high res or the NAIP. Over here, you've got all of your data filters, right? So we'll come and put on owner name. I'll show me the city limits. So you see that this is considered a city. This is the city of Midland. Show me flood zone, show me surface water layer, show me wetlands, show me the land use. Actually, one of the ones I like as well is the last purchase date. So I'll turn this on and I get to see the last sale price of every single property. This one sold for 4.8K 6 years ago. Okay. This one sold for 164K 19 years ago. So we get to see all that. You can toggle that for assessed value if you want. I'll turn on my road layer so I can see the roads and I can see the driveways on properties. I can turn on my AI building layer. So you'll see here, this will catch buildings on the property, even if it's not picked up at the county assessor level. And I can use AI to scrub these out. Obviously, the county assessor will have that if they pulled building permits. This is for like my markets. This is for like your internal tracking. We can turn on our MLS comps, right? So I can see comps that have sold. I can see the sold data. I can go actually view that listing. You can see pending, see active, the whole kit and caboodle. But again, this is just a drop in the bucket. This really is one sliver of the business. So I can come over here. We can move through the due diligence card. This is what we call our due diligence card. So I can see that this property's been delinquent since 2024. They paid 10 grand 31 years ago. They bought it on a warranty deed. You can see all the pertinent information. I can go through all the parcel information. I can see this is in the Rainbow Valley subdivision. I can see this is interesting, okay? This property is assessed as 0.98 acres. Our AI system actually pulls this up as 1.11. So there's probably a discrepancy here that might, I mean, if you see that, it might encourage us to get a survey potentially. And if it was inverted, we'd probably want to negotiate potentially off the calculated acreage. You see this somewhat often. All the ownership information. So the previous owner bought it for 10K. The owner before them bought it for $1,000 in 1994. So they made 9 grand on that sale. We can see the insights on the property, 155 feet of road frontage, no flood zones, no wetlands. I can see the topography grade here. It's at 9,300 feet in elevation. Average slope is 37%, minimum slope 21%. I can see all of the market metrics here. There's 111 properties active, 6 pending, 68% of them have sold through in the last year, on and on and on again. Then you go into the comp tool. I mean, it just keeps on going. It keeps on going. It keeps on going. I'll show you one last little sliver here. So we jumped into the comp tool. And so this is kind of our underwriting brain, right? We use this for texting. We use this for acquisitions. We use this for cold calling. And this is how we run quick due diligence. I can see all the parcel insights here. I can see all the market insights. And this is actually how we comp our properties, right? We use something called proximity features recency. And that's a comping matrix that we created inside of Leo, which you can execute on inside of Land Insights. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on and on again. The data platform is, I would argue, 10x better than PropStream. But the platform itself beyond the data platform is 100x better than PropStream because it's so much more than a data platform. Now, not really relevant if you're not running a land business, though. Any tips for cold call, lead appointment, show up rate? Some people literally disappear. No, I don't have any data on. Well, okay. I think I know what you're saying. So you're saying cold caller calls them and you pass it off to the acquisition manager. That's what I'm going to assume you're saying. So that handoff, everything comes down to 2 sides of the equation. Speed to lead, okay? That acquisition call, that handoff, ideally should be a warm transfer. Obviously that's unlikely, but we want to do it within minutes or hours, not days. So that handoff has to be quick, and the speed to lead is important. Sorry, and the expectation setting is important. Aaron, they're going to ghost that second call if they don't know exactly what's in it for them. So you have to sell them on that next call, why that next call is important, okay? They have to know exactly what's going to happen. What you don't want to do is, our acquisition manager, Bob, he'll call you. And he'll take it from here. That's terrible expectation setting. Okay. They have to know what they're getting themselves into, and they have to know why it's worth it for them. Okay. And then speed to lead. Of course, on top of that too, you're not going to have a perfect 100% pickup rate between those 2 calls for setting that appointment. So that's where your acquisition process comes into play. You have to have an acquisition process that will continue to work these people, even if they don't pick up on day 1. So, you're still going to have some fall off. One of the hardest things to deal with is multiple people to sign on trust. I do my best to treat each person as a new lead, but any tips here? Not really. It's really hard. I don't really have any ninja tips. Try to get looped in early out of the gate with everyone. I find that if you don't get looped in, the people that don't talk to you, you're kind of the big bad wolf. So try to get everyone looped in as soon as possible. I like to get everyone's email, send a Loom video, CC them on all of the email, or try to get a Zoom call with everyone on it. That doesn't happen every time, but it's been really effective for us. But you're thinking of treating them all like a new lead is spot on. DJ Destroyer, what are some new strategies for dispositions in 2026 and 2027? You don't need new strategies, guys. You don't need new strategies. Most people are fucking up the basics so bad that new strategies is a distraction. DJ Destroyer, if you haven't mastered the basics, which I can guarantee you have not, I haven't even completely. No, there's no new strategy you need to be thinking about, right? This goes back to the same idea. Find something that works and just do more of it. Right now, we sell every single one of our properties on the MLS, okay? What do I mean by the basics? It's first, you're working in good markets. Second, you're listing your properties at a discount, okay? You are the next logical sale. You are listed at a discount. You're not maximizing retail value. Next, you're following the Leah listing framework that we teach in Leah 2.0 identically, and I'll tell you a story about this. Next, you're working with a phenomenal land-focused agent. I can guarantee you have not done all of these things. And maybe you do it on some listings, but I can guarantee you at the very least, you're not doing it on all of your listings. So in December, okay, and I think we're really good at dispositions. I think we're really good, right? We acquire on average 10 deals a month. We sell on average 6 to 8 deals a month. It's pretty awesome, okay? But I knew we could be better. And we were already really good. But in December, I kind of blew up on my team. I was like, guys, there's still an extra 25% improvement we can eke out on all of our listings and on our realtor selection to sell more deals, okay? I don't just want to have to keep on acquiring more deals. I want to get more efficient at selling the deals that we're acquiring, and we can sell them faster. So I became a drill instructor on my team. I had them go through all of the content in Leah 2.0 about dispositions and realtor selection. Okay, I didn't give them any new information. They just went through what I've already created for you guys. Then we hired a new guy named Juan, not the one from Leah, different Juan, who was executing on this process, not doing anything different than what we teach, just maximizing 100% of all of the basics on every listing. Okay, perfection on every listing or close to it. Naturally, our dispositions blew up in January, and I think we'll have our biggest disposition month this month. It's not by doing new things. It's by mastering the basics. I think this month we could probably sell 12 to 15 deals. No new things, nothing special, mastering the basics. So yeah, that's almost always going to be the answer for you guys. What part of the business is the Q4 feature going to affect? Jacob, every part of the business. Every part of the business. I mean, the only part, actually it'll affect every part of the business. I was going to say maybe not dispositions, but no, it'll affect dispositions as well. That's all I'll say. It'll affect every single part of the business. And there's nothing out there that exists that's quite like this. There's things that are similar, but there's nothing that's this. There's features in this that you've never seen on any platform, features that I've never even heard people talk about before, things I've been dreaming up for years, and it'll be free for Land Insights Pro users. No additional subscription. That feature alone, people are already paying through the nose for. I'll leave it at that. Levi, Sumner, hey, how do you use transaction coordinators and what do you suggest paying in the start? Say if you're doing 1 to 2 deals per month, only commission or base salary and commission. So Levi, we have kind of like an interesting model because we have a guy on our team that does TC work, but he doesn't only do TC work. So I don't have like a singular TC role. Okay. And the guy that does our TC is world-class at it. He's amazing. So kind of not the norm, but he's originally from the Philippines. So I think you can hire phenomenal TCs overseas. And I would recommend a hybrid model. I would recommend a base salary and then some kind of commission on the deals that sell. And I would have the commission be a percentage, not a flat rate. So they get rewarded when we land big deals. So that's how I would set it up. One to two deals per month isn't a ton, but you could hire someone, I think you want to pay for quality here. So I wouldn't skimp. And it's Levi, it's like a little early to do it with 1 to 2 deals. Usually it's more like 3 to 5 deals where it becomes relevant. But I would say, $1,500 a month if they're overseas, and then 2%, 1.5% of gross profit on the deals, something like that. But I think it's one of those things you don't want to skimp on. They have to be willing to get on the phone and talk to realtors and talk to title companies. They don't always have to do it. They have to be willing to do it. And they also select the title companies and select the realtors. Now, for where you're at, you could consider using a service. I've never used a service. I think they're super expensive. They don't do all of the work I want them to do, like selecting the title company, selecting the realtor. So we have them manage that full process. How often is the satellite image and land insights updated? It depends on the base map layers. I don't have the exact date, but Mark, that's actually one of the features that's getting updated in the middle of this year. So middle of this year, new map layers that are updated faster and just more map layer options, because you'll notice that the map layers all update at different time frames. So new map layers and faster map layers, new due diligence overlays and new due diligence features, and we're rebuilding the comping tool. So that's all coming out really as soon as we release this new feature this month. All of our effort is going to those 3 things I mentioned. So it should be middle of this year. Coach says, super helpful, Sam. Thanks for all the opportunities you've always provided. Time for the actions to align with words in my biz for quarter 1 and 2. Off to bed, running a marathon, 12 hours. Thank you. Holy shit, Coach. Coach, you're crazy, man. I can't believe you're running a marathon tomorrow. Coach is always running a marathon, man. It's crazy. Yeah, I'm rooting for you, Coach. I hope that this is the year it all shifts into place, man. I really think you have everything that's required to do very, very well in this business. You hit a rough patch. That's okay. Like, everyone's story is different. I think that's one thing that's important to talk about from a coaching perspective. Yes, we have averages in Leah, averages on how long it takes to get a deal or averages on how much you can make your first year, but everyone's story is different. And Coach started the land business a year ago. And to be honest, kind of ate shit, just did not have a good first year. Sometimes that's how our story goes. And then sometimes you make $100,000 in 90 days. Like, everyone's story is different. But if you stay at it and you're persistent and you follow the right plan, it's just a matter of when, not if. You will get there. But everyone's story is different. So, Coach, you're writing a story. You're writing a story of, hey, I went through hardship and I'm going to overcome it. So it'll all work out if you stick with it. Matt, what is your average net profit per deal? Purchase price to sales price, so we can take out factors like cost of capital, agent fees. Good question. I don't have the exact number in front of me. And we've had a lot of smaller deals sell since the beginning of this year. So we've had a lot of small deals for whatever reason sell. But typically I think we're in the mid 20s, 22, 25, something like that, somewhere in that territory. It's probably a little bit lower since January 1st, because for some reason we've had a lot of 10K, 12K, 5K even deals sell. So somewhere in the mid to low 20s. And it's higher for cold calling. Is the MLS comps layer available in the starter plan? No. MLS comp layers, I believe, is just pro. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it's just pro. You might have to double check me on that. If you have starter, you can ask the support team. There's honestly so many things in Land Insights, I can't keep track of all of them. I know you do get limited access to the comp tool. you might, let me see. Maybe I can pull it up. Let me see real quick. I don't want to give you wrong information if you sign up. So you would want to double check with the team real quick, but let me see. Okay. Yes. Sorry. Yes, DJ Destroyer, you do get the MLS data layer in starter plan. Okay. You get limited access to the comp tool and you don't get the AI comp value, but you do get the MLS data layer on starter. So I misspoke. Sumner, in the future, would it be possible to do these live streams 1080p would make showing the software much better? Yeah, it's probably a good point. Yeah, I'm definitely not opposed to that by any means. Perhaps we'll upgrade after this call. When can we get the 5K mailer challenge update series? Super helpful. I know, Kyle. I'm so sorry, guys. We have a batch of mail waiting for me to review and send it out. I've been so busy the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 months with Leah 2.0 and Land Insights and my own land business. So it did take the back seat because I am pretty much doing, 75% of the work myself. So it's a passion project. I do have more data to send out. We've only sent 1,000 mailers. So we're only at like 10% of the budget. So yes, I got more to send out and I apologize. The series will be completed. I can't make any guarantees on the timeline because it's just a very, very small side quest of everything else. But yes, we will complete that challenge. And we have data. I just need to go through and review the pricing. How do you pitch being able to list the seller's property for a lot more than what you agree to buy it? Well, it's all covered inside of Leah 2.0. Hold on. It's all covered inside of Leah 2.0, so I won't beat a dead horse on the scripting and all that jazz. But the long and short of it is, it's all about selecting the right lead. Okay. I never try to force a double close on someone. Every time on the acquisition side, we give them 2 different offers, a quick close offer or a creative offer. That creative offer might lead to double closing. It might lead to owner financing, whatever. We let them choose which one sounds best. And we explain the context, the pros and cons that come with both. And when it comes to double closing, we're just straight up and we let them choose. And the truth is there's so many property owners out there that they don't mind. As long as you do what you say you're going to do, they really don't care. But we're very clear. Hey, if we go this route, we're going to have more time on the contract. We will play matchmaker with the property. And there's a good chance that we're going to sell it for more than what we're contracted at. Is that going to be a problem for you? And the truth is most people, it's not a problem for. Okay. But I think you have to operate with full candor. No beating around the bush. The problem with double closing arises when you've misled someone and then they found out that you listed their property and then they get all angry at you. So you got to be very clear. Now, of course, there's things that you don't like. There's words that you want to avoid that are confusing. I wouldn't use double closing or simultaneous closing or pass-through funding or like technical jargon like that is going to be confusing. I wouldn't use the word wholesaling or things like that. But just break it down into its remedial steps. Hey, we're going to have prospective buyers walk the property. We're going to have a realtor that helps us with due diligence, blah, 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 blah. And then let them choose. So we never force an offer on a seller. We always give them options and we let them choose. Year 1 did one deal, 14K. Did one deal, 14K, and it was a net negative loss. Year 2, I was at 165 extended for year 3. Sick, Aaron. Sick. Yeah, I mean, talk about persistence, man. Year 1, one deal, you lose money. Like, that's not fun. But you stuck around, you had 12x the next year, and maybe you'll 12x again this year. How do we can get new records without pulling the whole list every year? I don't know what that means, Mark. How do we? I'm not sure what you mean. How often do you recommend records? How often do you recommend records/data? I mean, we just pull every single week. So some people, it's different for every person, but we typically are pulling every week. I mean, we kind of go through like the schematic that we talked about. time outline for market research. Actually, I don't know what my team's pulling at right now. Let me be honest. I'm not sure of the exact cadence, but typically what I recommend for folks is going through that weekly cadence that we talk about, right? Market selection on Mondays, pull your data, price your data, mail your data. I don't really recommend pulling giant swaths of data at once because I think you start to kind of get fatigued, and you start making some sloppy decisions. But at most, maybe pull once a month. But I wouldn't be pulling like the whole year at once or something crazy like that. So I like a steady cadence. I like to come and look at it with fresh eyes, but whatever works for you. It's not like it. I mean, if that works for you, whatever. I wouldn't pull the whole year in one go. I think for most people, especially if they're mailing, kind of just having that steady weekly cadence. But your call. I wouldn't be pulling more than like a month's worth of data. I think that's kind of the max of where I'd be hanging out at. How often do you pull data records for same area? Once a year. Yeah. So if I'm remarketing to the same area, enough stuff changes every year that I would update it once a year. But outside of that, I don't think you need to double pay for it. So refresh the data once a year. Now for skip tracing, you might want to refresh it more frequently. So for skip tracing, you might want to refresh it every 6 months, especially if you're scrubbing DNC and things like that, which I recommend. So that you might want to refresh because people get added to the DNC list or the known litigator list or whatever. I try to keep that up to date. So you might want to refresh that every 6 months. All right, guys. We are 2.5 hours in. We'll wrap up here. If you guys haven't already, drop this video a like, share it with a friend. Even if you don't share it with a friend, a like goes a long way. It shows me that these are worth doing. If I get enough likes on these videos, I say, great, I should do more of these weekly or bi-weekly. I enjoy doing them, but I want to make sure they're actually of value to you guys, okay? So please let me know with a like. It's a little vote of confidence for me. It just lets me know I'm doing the right thing. I'll leave you guys with this. Again, if this was helpful and you feel like, you know what, I want to get to that 250K mark or whatever it may be for you, and you're not there yet, go test drive Leah 2.0. Just do yourself a favor and test drive it. Jump in the community, go through our onboarding. We've got our Leah Deal Lab call on Monday. So that's our call, all things land, deal reviews, market reviews, you name it. And then we run our onboarding calls on Thursday. So we'll walk you through how to use the platform, how everything works, and go test drive it. I think that you will more than likely stick around for a long time. It's just that good. And we've demystified every part of the land business and are doing exactly what I do in my land business. The business that's allowed me to live in Bali and travel all over the world and have an amazing team and being able to have full control over the amount of money that I make is all taught inside of Leah 2.0. So I think it's a small price to pay for what we've put together there. I recommend everyone just go give it a try. See if you like it. Matt says, I liked this video 2 or 3 days ago. Hey, that's the ultimate vote of confidence, man. I appreciate it. All right, guys, enjoy your weekend. Be well. I'll see you on our Leah Deal Lab call on Monday if you guys are in Leah 2.0. If not, cheerio. Take care of yourself, everyone. Bye.